It's like, oh, dear.
You should see
No.
his videos. He's incredible. If you have some
What
people,
style?
if you have some people who are getting the sand kicked in the face, they can come.
Oh yeah, Karate Kid style. Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. Peace.
So tell your friends. Check out your video. I had to do a shameless plug.
Oh, I loved it. Thank you. What styles of
What we learned was Shaolin Kung Fu. So the whole mentality of that. So it was the animal styles, but kind of consider Kung Fu like a baseball.
Yeah.
So baseball has a leather covering, then it has all the stitching in it, and then it has the core, this really hard pit, right? So the pit is Wing Chun. The simple moves of the interior, that's used on the dummy, and you use the dummy and all that, right? And everything else, all of the animal styles and the weapons and all that, they flourish outside and around it to give it, to augment it, I mean, that's pretty much what I learned, and learned, because I don't consider myself learned,
Master students.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the thing is that he says that, and that's real peace though, but every time I train, I make sure that wherever I'm learning, I'm in a cipher where I'm the worst. You know what I mean? I'm not that good. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm trash in the cipher that I'm at.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean?
Always challenging.
And
that's the great thing about teaching. You're always learning.
Right. And that's been a natural way of life for us as teachers, because it becomes overt for me because I have to come here every week and share something, right? But for all of us, we're always teaching out in the street, and it was very communal. So you're teaching your neighbors, you're teaching people that are in your block and stuff. So you always have to be sharp as if to something else. You always have to be ready with some type of insight. And then the boredom of everyday life that makes people want to do the wrong thing is counted each time, because you're trying to learn something insightful every time,
What if they're like me and they know right, but they do wrong anyway?
Good soul song.
You've walked the streets with me. You've worked with me.
Oh, man.
He says I'm annoying.
It's one time. I know. You never let me go
Point.
with that. Peace wise, you peace quantities. I turned on the online, so we're online as well. But you know what's crazy, right? Is that I have students. I've been teaching you since 2000 of April. Okay, so it's 21 years. So there are students that I've taught for almost a whole decade or something, just seeing their life grow. You know what I'm saying? And some of them are much slower than others. You know what I mean? I think the first thing is that we've always were taught to teach by age. So if they were a certain age, then it was no good. You weren't going to teach them. And they were teaching very young, teenage. When we talk about Allah the Father leaving the Nation of Islam and taking those sets of teachings that would eventually become 120, because there were literally 122 questions, answers, and statements that he took and said, we're going to memorize these and focus on these. Right? Two of them repeated, so it's 120. When he took that, he was sharing with everyone, but the youth were the best learners, and they became the focus. So the nation became something that was really teaching teenagers, young teens, right? But by the time I got the knowledge, right, I was someone that is out of that bracket, because I was near finished college, and I was about 23. And I had a college degree, and I was already, even the lifestyle, no one had to tell me to not eat pork, because I was already vegan for about, 6, 7, since 96. I come here in 99, so I was already vegan for 3 years, right? So the expectation was that we build something, that we were expected. The older student was expected to actually do something, to create something. And it becomes whoever walks in, the judgment of that person is like, are they really worthwhile? Because we all have an opportunity cost. Like, how much time do you invest in who you share with? So that it's the same question for anything else in your life, So I don't know. I don't know. I think that because I've had so many students over the years, I have hundreds of students come to the classroom. So I've taught hundreds of people.
Are you still vegan?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I never let go. Yeah. It was so much harder back then. How could it?
I was gonna say, you switched now.
Yeah, definitely.
When everything's so accessible.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right,
I mean,
there.
I became vegan first by getting rid of dairy first.
That's good.
So,
yeah.
and that was because I was allergic. It was not, I couldn't help it. So if I could get rid of all the good tasty treats and all that, because I didn't know that there was something else. Peace, God, right? That jacket. And if I could get rid of that, then I could try anything else. And then, I always tell people it was that Cobbin line. He had a line. He said, "What type of rebel eats pork?" So then I was like, oh, it finally infused in me. And I was like, that was it. I just got rid of that. Then, slowly, gradually, everything else was experimentation. I'm not getting much out of it. Let me get rid of everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I was vegan in the early years, though, it was really just about what I don't eat, not necessarily what I do eat. You know what I mean? Because what I did eat, though, wasn't necessarily healthy. It was just like whatever was left, like white rice, processed things that qualify, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't really, that's why to me, it's got to be a living foods diet. So even in the classroom, part of the curriculum is taking students through what I consider to be the vegan living foods diet that I live, you know what I mean? But also making it adaptable, because not everyone I'm expecting to live that out.
Yeah.
But I am expecting them to know it so that they could use it for their own health benefit. So when it's time to detox, when it's time to this, they could know, like, I could get rid of this. I could do this for a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it still has its uses, even if they're not all doing that. You know what I mean? And the same thing goes with everything else. I teach the martial arts to a very small segment of the students I teach. Those who are willing and those who, then they have to be physically fit to do certain things. But it really is that there's a level of training that we all have to have, a level of excellence, that we should all be expected to have. You know what I mean? By the way, anybody online, y'all get quiet. Every time I have students in the classroom, the online chat gets quiet and stuff. Y'all know that he ain't gonna read it. He ain't gonna read it. He's not paying attention because I have to be looking at it though. You know what I mean? But if you have a build or you have a question and stuff, let me know because I want to. But
I'm monitoring people too.
yeah. With the, what's interesting is that with the online, I give them challenges that, to me, would be similar to what we're dealing with. So I was talking to the guy. Remember we was talking about that last week. You deal with somebody online, right? You deal with somebody online. How are they supposed to be able to come, come face to face like the God does, and he goes through his lessons and really build that way, right? So then now they have to go above and beyond. Well, what could you create? What could you do to show and prove? What could you do to actually build something positive? Because I judge the student not first by how many students he racks up. Yeah. Some people do that. It's like you teach 9, like the way the father taught. You know what I mean? Each one teach 9, and then it would just sprout out like that. You know what I mean? I judge them by the quality, by the way that they're living their life. You know what I mean? The quality of how they discern their ways, the quality of how they actually engage in what they're doing, what type of things do they build? Because a lot of my emphasis is on us being creators. So what can we create? Because it's simple. If this was creation, and let's assume that it was infinitely moving and not just this room and me just putting my hands in a room, but if this was all creation and we could do that, then the creator is inside his own creation. So then what does he create that extends to affecting the outside world? You know what I mean? So then I would expect the student to try to create something. You know what I mean? And then those people that really care about this, what would they add on to the nation? Because when we say nation of gods and earths, we mean this entire reality. Nation coming from the Latin root nascer, which means birthright. So what is our birthright? The knowledge of ourselves, right? So what would they do? What would they do that would extend to that? You know what I mean? Right? And today being June 3rd, right? The understanding, right? Peace, have you been in my class before?
No, I just walked in.
Okay, that's Peace. What's your name, brother?
Zion.
Yeah. All right. So what led you to walk into my classroom?
Look, I didn't know you was a class day at all.
Oh, okay.
I see the property all the time,
Okay, you live around here?
So I'm one right here in the area. So
okay.
I see it all the time, but I was just curious.
Okay. Anything that you want to ask or anything like that, feel free.
Actually, I have questions right now.
No. That's what I'm saying. As you go along or anything like that, I mean, you definitely, that's what happens here. We're a school. We voluntarily deal with whoever comes in. You know what I mean? I never know who's gonna come in. I know he's gonna come in, though, but I didn't know that you was gonna come in today. I didn't know. So it's how we deal with the community. Yeah, that's peace, God. I had one.
I'm gonna head out soon, actually.
That's peace. Is there anything you wanted to ask or? Yeah, I'm good, God.
I mean,
because I saw you raise your hand.
I was gonna ask when you do the martial arts classes before I head out, because I'd love to.
I don't. Everything is.
That's private. That's like an arrangement.
Yeah, that's like an arrangement I do privately. Though. I don't
gotcha,
teach that
okay.
here in the classroom. Yeah, definitely.
So
But you can take down my email, my information.
Yeah,
If you're on social media, you can go to Sunez, just SUNEZ. You know what I mean? Since he said the martial arts, though, I have put clips up of me doing some stuff so you could see.
Very impressive. I mean, the work speaks for itself.
SUNZ?
SUNEZ.
Easy.
Right, SUNEZ.
easy.
That's the IG. That's the IG handle.
Yeah.
My email is sunez97, right, at gmail.com. Sunez97 at gmail.com. Okay. All right. So
Thank you.
anything.
Yes, it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure time.
That shit is good though.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Indeed. Let me read this out. Kwati said, understanding, right? I see it as comprehension, the testing of one's idea, the validation of information, which gives insight in how to cultivate one's way. I see that. Okay. And then he asks a question. Kwati's asks, are perspective and understanding related? Very good. I was trying to look at the science of understanding. In doing so, I wanted to connect understanding to vision and then somehow to a visionary, and wondered how closely related a visionary is to a revolutionary is. Really good question. There's two good questions there. However, the end result is either the jewel or fool's gold, so to speak. What is to be said of a visionary or revolutionary whose ideas are wrong? Does that even make sense? Or is it better to ask, if a visionary doesn't fulfill any promises of his vision, is he a phony, or is the title just taken away? That's a lot of good questions. I'm going to rewind back. And this is just for Zion, though. Zion, you walked into a school where we teach that the black man is God.
Okay.
That's real simple. Real simple.
Yeah.
We teach that there's no mystery God in the sky. Okay? So now you, black man, right? I'm assuming your lineage, what's your ethnicity? African American or Caribbean?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. And so now, I said that, but then in this society, a lot of people wouldn't say I was black, right? They'd be wrong as fuck, but they wouldn't say that. A lot of people wouldn't. A lot of people would try not to be that look like me, right? So then we also teach, well, what do we mean by black man? What do we mean when we say the black man is God and we say that the black woman is the earth? You see? We also teach that the original peoples are the true and living gods and earths, right? So why? Why do we say that? Why do we say that there's no mystery God, no mysterious being, energy, or force that controls our reality? See, Zion, I'm not proving anything, I'm just giving you the proposals that are made in this room so that way so that I'm never going to step into this building again, because the shit that guy told me was some crazy shit. Or it was so weird that I got to find out how the hell they have the audacity to say that. You know what I'm saying? So it's either or, though. You know what I'm saying? Either or. It's like that movie, Ronin, though. You always want to know how do you walk in a building and how you can walk out of a building. You know what I'm saying?
I see the back door right there.
Okay, yeah. But I'm here, though. You may not make it, though.
But Junior Gong, 1, you can't make it past 7. 2 is a block there. 3, you don't know who's waiting out there. 4, the gates is locked.
Right. But
You fucked.
yeah.
Tell them all that.
Right. But you definitely walked into a peaceful,
first lane, right?
into a peaceful cipher, though, and it is your reality whether to agree or disagree. You see what I'm saying? Because if you agreed, then you would have to show and prove it yourself and not just believe me, okay? Because then that would be your God, and that's gross. It's kind of nasty. You know what I'm saying? So when we propose this, It has a long lineage though, because these truths were actually in the teachings of the Nation Islam. Have you ever heard of Nation Islam?
Yeah.
Right? And Elijah Muhammad, who's on the wall here, right? Look at him.
Oh, I didn't see all that.
Yeah, he's on the wall here, right? Elijah Muhammad is on the wall.
We got brothers in the wall, so Mookie won't throw a trash can through them.
Now, Elijah Muhammad taught these in his teachings, but he also taught the immediate students that were there in the Nation of Islam. To this day, they still learn this, that the black man is God, but you, if you were in there, are Muslim, one who submits to the will of Allah, who came in the person of Mustafar Muhammad. So it would be Mustafar Muhammad who was that true and living God in the flesh, in the physical. And Elijah Muhammad becomes his messenger. And Elijah Muhammad's teaching the teachings that he brought, right? The thing about it is, and I'm fast forwarding a ridiculous amount, right? Fast forwarding where people would leave, right? Like Malcolm X left for different reasons. And eventually one of the students, Clarence 13X, right? He left because he felt that the teachings was to be lived and proven exactly as they were, meaning the teaching was, who is the original man? The original man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet, Earth, father of civilization, and God of the universe. And he said, well, if it says that the original man is God, and that the black man is the original man, then that means that the original man is God, and that the black man is God, right? Because the black man is the original man is God, right? So it doesn't prove anything yet, Zion. But to him, if those teachings were true, then he was like, why are we waiting? Why are we waiting for another black man to come and be the God while we are Muslims submitting to the will of Allah who came in the person of Mustafar Muhammad? Do you see that logic that was going on in his head? So Clarence 13X, because he was the 13th Clarence to be in the Nation of Islam, he decided to leave. And he said, I'm Allah himself. I'm Allah. And he started to teach in these Harlem streets, right? The same Harlem streets that you're around all day.
Oh, okay.
Except that didn't always go over well with the older people. You know what I mean? Nation of Islam, if you study them, they focused on older people. People that had tough lives and they're trying to rebuild, you know? It really worked with the youth. Because they were questioning all religion and abandoning everything. So he started to teach those youth. And eventually, 9 of those students, he dubbed his first 9 born. His major students that would teach everyone else, right? To teach all these other youth. And that became the beginnings of this nation in 1964, okay? So talking about a long time ago, okay? Around 1967, though, the mayor sees the work that Allah the Father, who's pictured up here, does in the community with the youth, even though there are FBI files saying that he's very dangerous because he has more youth than any of the other organizations, right? Black Panthers, Young Lords on the East Side, right? He has more people than any of those other groups, right? And yet he's still peaceful. He's not having him be violent. So even some of the other Black Power groups aren't really always feeling him either, because he's not really about violence either. And he's not anti-white, and he's not obsessively pro-Black, because if he says that the original man is God, then that's not being pro-Black. This is basic fact. Like 2 + 2, he's teaching it. You get what I'm saying? And if he's teaching that the history and the creation and the making of the white man has a specific set date 6,000+ years ago, that we ever see the first Europeans, and says that they were made and that they did not exist before, then these are simple archaeological facts that have become more and more proven over time as the years go by. So these aren't taught as pro-Black or anti-white teachings, but just as facts that everyone has to deal with. So whether they were Black or whether they were white, they had to deal with the truth. And you got to be the true and living God or earth, or be a righteous man or woman in this nation, right? This is what he was teaching. In 1967, though, the mayor, John Lindsay, gave us this property, including this building.
67?
1967, right? And the father was killed in 1969, right? But this nation continued on, though, because there is no mystery God. So all of the other students that had it, they kept teaching it, though, and then fast forward to 2000, and I start teaching here. You know what I mean? And they tell me that the original man is the black, brown, yellow seed, right? So whether you're coming from here, and you know what I mean, in America, or you're coming from the Caribbean, like myself, from Puerto Rico, you're the original man. So I got this knowledge of self, and I've been teaching ever since, right? This course, the P.E.A.C.E course, done by this man right here.
Political education and
Civilization enrichment, right? How to deal with the outside world, political education. Civilization enrichment, the knowledge of self and the science of everything in life, right? This is what we teach here.
Applying it also. People, take the science and they just pay lip service and sound all fly and staying theoretical and speculative, as Dumas would call it, high science. But there's a practical, operational aspect of it, of city science, which I call aptology. What good is it if you know all of this stuff and you can find all these degrees, but you're asking for a foundation every day? Aren't you the foundation of everything in existence and show and prove, or else you just lip service and sounding good? Which means you, to me, is no better than the hotel, going to the hotel, because he tells the hoes what they want to hear on a conscious level. There's so many out there conscious pimps that got these chicks all tied up in the soul sister Oshun, sprinkle some holy water on me, and they just gaming them. The truth of the matter is, in order for us to survive in this day and time, we have to move like a unit. Like he was saying earlier about the Kung Fu styles. That wasn't just how we inspired ourselves. To survive in the jungle, we had to move, and we observed how nature moved, and that's how we did. And there was the wolves in front in certain aspects, because there's a she-wolf. There's always, so they have that energy. But the whole thing was the males, the strong young males, protected the females, and the babies were protected by the females. You know what I'm saying? It was an order. It ain't about me wanting to be, you my woman, and you gonna listen to me. No, this is about us surviving and moving according to supreme mathematics, knowledge, wisdom, understanding, knowledge being the man, wisdom being the woman, and the way to what the best part of the children. And we move in that formation. Protect the babies, they're the best part. And sometimes you might have to leave a couple of the warriors, the men, with the babies. And sometimes the sisters on the front line. And I learned that from my own daughter, because I was like, she's out there in the corporate world making the dough, and he's at home. And I'm like, why are you doing that? She's like, who else to be with the babies than Papa Lion? And I was like, that makes sense. She got the lion protecting the babies. And then I thought about that, draw it up. Who hunts in the lion pack? The lioness. And who offers protection to the pride? The father lion. I was like, I ain't call you Nala for nothing, I was like, worried. And then, I was insulted at one point, because they say that women gravitate to men to remind them of their father, right? And that men tend to gravitate to the first woman they love, their mom. So people that have certain, it might not be a physical appearance, it might be something that she does that reminds you of that first woman you loved. And sometimes it goes astray, and that might also be the first woman you hated. So you have to take in all that in consideration when you're looking to the women. But my LGs told me that when you're looking to make a baby, pick a woman to whom you would have wanted to be born. If you had qualities in your mom that you love, you see that in a woman, and that's the woman that you want to have for your baby. And if you see things in there that you didn't like in your mom, that's not the woman that you want to have for your babies. You want to have the mother that you wanted for yourself and the woman that you choose for your babies, because that's just you coming back in a more refined form. But a lot of them say, well, those 5%ers, they're misogynistic, they're about, no. We're about protecting the babies and more important. People have been seeing the fake, the real, the fake, the fugazi for so long that they don't recognize the real. I remember, case in point, that I had some raw cane sugar, and I was about to give it to somebody for their coffee, and she's like, yeah, that looks rotten. Why? Because she was used to seeing white bleached sugar. Yeah. So when she saw the raw cane sugar, she said, that looks rotten.
Always
raw cane sugar.
Yeah.
She said, "Oh, that looks right." 'cause
It's
she's
not
used to
bleached,
seeing-
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not bleached.
People are so used to seeing the wrong thing, when they see the right thing, they think that that's wrong.
Yeah, that's also part of mass agriculture, right? To feed the masses, though, you actually have to alter the food because tons and tons of sugar would rot immediately if you didn't bleach it. You know what I mean? So milling all that sugar, though, you know what I mean? So
It's all about shelf life. It's all about consuming.
Mhm.
They don't care anything.
let me answer Quati's question, though, just real quick about this idea of perspective and understanding them. We have a perspective when we look at things too. Everybody has a perspective. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, let me give you a basic one that everybody has, though, right? One that never leaves. No one. Everybody has it, though, in some way. They go out somewhere, though. Keeping themselves alive, though, is a perspective. In other words, you're looking at things like, oh, you're judging safety. Whether you don't notice it or not, you're judging safety, right? You cross the street, right? That would be basic stuff, right? In this nation, as far as how we deal with understanding, how we deal with the knowledge of self, we always have a perspective of understanding, meaning that the children, for example, are perspective. They're always in our perspective. Like, they're always the best part. The father used to yell at him, Allahu Akbar, I mean, God is great. And he would say, no, the babies are the greatest. So this nation always focuses on the children. So in our perspective, when we build, we always focus on the young. You know what I mean? What's the impact on the young? You know, how is this helpful? How is this not helpful? Does this appeal to them? How can we teach them? How can we build? You know what I mean? It's never just us, you know, as far as that goes. You know what I mean? Because they're the best part. They're always the future. You know what I mean? So perspective is always part of understanding, though, because it would be not ignorant, that's a bad word. It would be disingenuous to say that we don't go through things with certain perspective. You know what I'm saying? It's also part of the reality that if we say that knowledge is everything is knowledge, everything is either a truth or a reality that can be proven under some circumstance, then that means that knowledge is infinite. And if knowledge is infinite, then that means that there are things that you are doing at all times that are based on what you assume to be true. It may not be true. In other words, you're always gaining knowledge, right? But if you look at what you do, not everything that you do is always based on 100% knowledge, right? It's why I always tell the students that I meet, though, to out of the three things that I always make sure I tell them, though, one of them is to always bathe yourself of belief, because it's something that piles on like dirt. And so what would be the way that you would deal with that? How would you bathe that? There are so many things we don't know. Well, what is the thing that you were dealing with most that is based on belief? In this nation, when people get knowledge of self, we usually go with diet. You know what I'm saying? Usually, because these are things that you put inside you and you take around with you and you let them engage you and you let them sustain you and fortify you, and it could be full of junk, right? Starting from the pig and getting rid of the pig and all its, derived ingredients, but then other things that might be detrimental and all these chemicals in this chemical world, right? You know what I mean? So when we look at things like that, there's always a perspective to things. In other words, a mentality that you go into things. But even those perspectives you go in, the lens that you use, more and more, it could be based on a truthful perspective or a righteous perspective if it's based on how you're dealing with people and stuff. You know what I mean? Usually it's not. And you always have to test yourself for those things. You know what I mean? That's part of a knowledge of self. You know what I mean? Knowing you are. Everybody wants to know the facts, right? I give you the facts that the black man has got. That's the first shit I gave you. But part of the knowledge of self is knowing you. And what is the difference between how Zion really is, what he is actually doing, what Zion himself thinks he ought to be, and then what Zion thinks he is. Because he's continuously been like that and everybody knows him like that. You know what I mean? Like there are things that, like, when you know people like, they always know me like that. You know what I mean? So you feel like you got to keep being something that's not really useful to you. Being a certain way, doing certain things that's not really beneficial to you. But it's like, niggas know me like that. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
I'm that guy, I'm that dude that wilds out when we go to, we go out, you know what I mean? And then that might not be your personality. Yeah. You're different though. Yeah, we need that though. You decided a long time ago that you'll be that man. But what I'm saying is though, it might be detrimental to that person. You know what I'm saying? Right? And this is part of the knowledge of self. You know what I mean? Engaging yourself. So that's what I see perspective and understand. They're calling it. When you say visionary and revolutionary, visionary would be somebody that would see something. But just because somebody sees something and speaks on it doesn't mean that they engage in being in having that fulfilled. You know what I'm saying? I was talking about Karl Marx. Karl Marx would be a visionary. You know what I mean? Because he decided he saw that like the main battle was the proletariat, right? He called the proletariat people that are workers, right? Let's say, think of a factory to make it easy. The proletariat, people that work, and then those owners who own the means of production. Right? They own the machines. And then eventually they'll oppress so much the owners of the means of production that the proletariat will uprise and take over. That's what he predicted. Like he predicted that. The problem was that he predicted also like a vicious cycle of proletariat rising, getting rid of the means owners of the means of production. Then they become the owners of the means of production, and then they do the same shit. So he didn't really talk about like, yo, this is the way we got to do. Karl Marx has nothing written down where he goes, yo, y'all gotta do this and do it like this and keep it this way. He just said that, no, this is the situation here. So he would be like an example though, since we talk about it, just keep on with the same person. An example of like what you could say is a visionary. Because it's not a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like he didn't say it and then all of a sudden people are like, yo, that's a dope idea. Let's do that stupid shit. He kind of defined what was already happening in other places and stuff and what was going to happen. You know what I mean? But he's not a revolutionary because he didn't advocate to actually do any of it. You know what I mean? And he didn't try to do any of that. A revolutionary is someone who wants to change the reality of what it is now, and concessions and little add-ons and stuff is not doing it. Like this is not Matrix 3 where they just fix the Matrix. You know, you still live in there, right? That shit was whack, right? I was like, wait a minute, I thought we were going to blow this thing up. I thought, at the end of the movie, I'm expecting them to be pulling out cords and just breaking everything. Nah.
People didn't want to.
Right.
Some of the people.
That's what I was saying. Yeah. But I'm saying at least in the fictional movie, I want to see some.
I want to see some.
I want to see what it looks like to pull out the plugs and shit.
It started off as a 5% movie, about 3 10%.
No, It was like the first one was 5%. The first one. The second one was like just action, and we're gonna fight 85. For it's 85, and then the third one was like the third one was the 10%. Yeah.
So the first one was 5%, the second one was 85, the last one was the 10%. Everybody got the cut.
That's what you're gonna call it though, the 5% cut, the 85 cut, and then the 10% cut.
You think about it? It's like
the first one. I remember God was teaching off of that.
I got knowledge of self. I came here in 1999 though, so everybody was throwing that teaching at me because I was a newborn. So it was like, you seen the movie The Matrix, right? And I said, yes, I have. Yeah.
But they couldn't say that for 2 and 3. It was like, nah, we ain't teaching that.
I could.
Well, you a bad motherfucker. Shut your mouth.
I don't know if you remember the first time I came into your class, I brought up The Matrix.
Yes.
Yeah, it's bad.
A quick interjection before he says something. He saw your true essence, the Amaru Khan you are. He calls you Soontek. I was like, he saw the Aztec. It was Soontek. I was like, yeah, but I was like, that's cool. We should call it. That's a new alias. Forget, the thing that the other person was saying that I'm not gonna mention. Soontek. I like that.
Soontek. Yeah. Yeah, it sounds tough though, so it's okay. Yeah.
Like you be writing it up on walls and shit.
Yeah.
Soontek Low. But Tech Low is my man from Newburgh. Bro, don't talk about him.
Wise you said today's math is understanding them. I'm going to rewind a little bit for Zion. Zion, when the father, we call him the father because he fathered this. And for the young that he was teaching at the time, he was really like a father figure. If you ever, me and Day's son and others, we got blessed to build with a lot of the firstborn. And he was their father. We call him the father of this nation, but to them, he was their father, though. He was the one that said, hey, life advice, all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? How do I make these moves? You know what I mean? Son, you got to get off the street and do this. You got to get a trade. It was all of that. You know what I mean? But when he left, though, he took those teachings from the Nation of Islam and he devised supreme mathematics and alphabet, which is the foundations of our dialect, our language. And supreme math is basically the law and order of the universe, right? When you detail it from 1 to 9 and 0 is the law and order. Everything starts with knowledge and leads to born, 9, right? Born, completion. But it also is what I call the what and how does the original man do. The nature of our reality is expressed in that supreme math. So the way we build with supreme math is we build on those principles. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding, culture, freedom, power, equality, God, build, born, right? So every day, depending on the day that it is, today's the 3rd day of the month, we say it's the understanding day. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding, right? So we build on that principle of understanding. It doesn't mean it's robotic. Like today's understanding day, I have to do everything that is based on understanding. You know what I mean? That's not how it works. We just focus on that principle. So when the students here are telling me how they see understanding, is because they're focusing on that day's mathematics, and we build on it and we try to relate it to our lives. You know what I mean?
We don't try to relate it to our lives.
Well, I'm talking about students, Yoda.
Green people.
Right? But yeah, wise you said today's math is understanding. To see clearly had to show my old earth, that's his mother, that she needed a home water filter and had her convinced by putting a shower filter first, and she saw the difference today. And that's real peace, God. That is real peace.
Practical application.
Be divine thought peace. Gregory Corker. I don't remember seeing a name. You said 3rd degree in the 1 to 14 says, I am God. Does it? Does it say that? I don't remember that. What degree? I don't remember. I don't remember that. Yeah, that's not. And if it were not for me, the half original wouldn't be here. Okay. I don't know who we. So how are we to bow to Fard? All right, I'm gonna look for some context. It's a statement, though. Okay, I'm gonna take this like it was a dart, because it's fun if I take it like if it was a dart. I don't know if you're Muslim or if you deal like that, because I was talking about the Nation of Islam, and I said that they submit to the will of Allah. I didn't make that up. Okay, so you're a Muslim and you're watching this and you go, look, I don't like the way he talks and stuff. I didn't make that shit up.
Oh, you live right now?
Yeah.
Oh.
I teach students online, right? Because during the pandemic, what happened was the school was closed. So I started to teach online, but then I kept it because I ended up getting students all over the world. So we do it both now, right? But anyway, right?
It's a hybrid course if you were to take it in college.
Right. So I didn't say that. Elijah Muhammad didn't even use the typical definitions of Muslim. If you look up Muslim, it means like man of peace, right? Of Islam, which means peace. That's not what Elijah Muhammad was saying. So if you're in the Nation of Islam, it's what he said. It's not what anybody else said. It's not what a Sunni said. It's not what, any other sect of Islam said. It's what Elijah Muhammad was teaching. You're in that thing. He was teaching that they submit to the will of Allah. These are direct quotes. I'm not making this up, Zion. Open any book, Message to the Black Man by Elijah Muhammad. Open any book by Elijah Muhammad. Look online for teachings or videos of Elijah Muhammad, because you can find videos of him teaching, And he will say that Elijah Muhammad thought like this, And he said that the Muslim is one who submits to the will of Allah. He said that, right? So I didn't say that, though. He said that, right? So I don't know if that's a dart statement, because you're saying a 3rd degree in the 1 to 14, it says, I'm God. It doesn't say that you're God. So I don't know where you're getting that from. Maybe it reaffirms, right? Maybe reaffirms what God does. He decide, right? He chooses the best part for himself. And if it were not for me, the half original wouldn't be here. I don't know. I know you could be more clear in your statement, though. I've taught for years here. You know what I mean? So I know if people might be throwing a dart at me, because like I said, Zion, though, I'm light-skinned. And some people will be like, oh, he's half original. He's not really the original man. You know what I mean? So we call a half original person as someone that is mainly someone that could be blacker than night, but he's doing devilishment. He's half original, though. His mindset is not original. However, though, in the history of it, though, the half original also is a technical definition of someone who is half black and half white, right? But we, the gods, earths, we don't call people that are half black, half white, half original, because we bear witness that if you are black, you are completely black. You understand what I'm saying? So it would be an insult to do that. So I don't know, because I'm the one that's teaching here. I don't know if that's being thrown as a dart and then got scared and said it's a statement here and then like that. I'm very used to statements like that.
Somebody putting it on right now live.
Right, this is what they had chatted though. So I know, because I've been here a long time though. I've had all types of students though. You know, this is Harlem though. So I've had people come in and like, oh shit, I'm on the wrong side of Harlem, shit like that, you know? Or just uncomfortable that someone that doesn't look African American is teaching what looks like or historically was focused at African Americans because it was taught in Harlem, right? Or first started in Harlem. You know what I mean? So I'm used to those kind of darts. So if it's a dart though, you know, be brave though. You know, for all the martial arts though, I still can't punch you through the screen, not yet. You know what I mean? So I just say the shit, you know what I mean? Say that, you know, I don't like what this man is teaching and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I got plenty of trolls on YouTube. But anyway, right?
Please.
And technically, the Muslim is bowing to Farah.
I just want to let y'all know, but for security reasons, in about a half an hour, we're gonna have to close down and just, you know, you can continue the online person portion, but we're gonna have to shut down as far as the public.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just want to check it out. That's all.
Oh, okay,
So
got
you
it.
got a half hour more. Let's give me a little morning. So
Okay. By the way, Zion, my class is every Thursday from 7 to 10. If I happen not to be here, you can always check on my Sunez7, right? And just copy my email address, sunez97@gmail.com, right? And you can contact me there. If you look up Sunez on IG, you'll find me, or Sunez7 on the Twitter, whatever. But
How you spell Sunez?
Sunez. Okay, 5 letters, Sunez. The point, Zion, though, is that this class is from 7 to 10. Whatever time period you could stay between those hours is all up to you. Okay, you come here, you're not stuck here for 3 hours. It's a voluntary course, though. I want you to voluntarily come in and leave when you have to or when you want to. Okay? Now, if you come at 9:59, though, I am not going to teach you. I'm going to leave. I'm going to go home. But you're always welcome, Zion. That's the point. You know what I mean? And if you learn better via the email, you know, you just want to ask me a personal question about this and that, it's all however you want to learn, though. It's how you're gonna learn, though. If you decide to learn, you know, or if you leave and you go, these niggas is crazy.
I just want to interject. I'm not trying to make Zion or anybody feel uncomfortable because I know you got people routine, but you know that they had, you know, I was on exile suspension for some time for destroying the school, or supposedly destroying the school and acting wild. So now I'm back, so I don't know what's going on, but everybody's putting pressure on me, and I want to make sure that you're taking the post because they're like, you know, if it's not locked down, they're going to come after me, you know, because I'm the irresponsible one.
Okay. No, but I always lock it.
Something.
Right, you know, God, I lock it. I always lock it down. You know what I mean?
You know, if you're taking it, then you know, I'm gonna say I'm not gonna have
In the 21 years out here, I could say that there's at least 10 whole years where I taught in this building by myself with no one securing it or anything like that.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? So
So they acting brand new.
I'm well equipped. Yeah, this is awkward. Yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
it's awkward at best. Yeah.
All right.
You know what I mean?
With that said, I'll be leaving at 9. You'll do what the hell you want.
No, yeah.
Yeah, well, good luck. That shit. Instagram.
Whatever you got to do. Yeah, I'm on Instagram Sunez. If you want to email me,
Yeah, I saw him come at the door, so I said, "Figure it's open."
He thought it was
that's
like,
peace.
he
That's
thought it was
peace.
like some secret temple thing.
I always see, you know what I'm saying? I'm always in a hurry.
Oh, that's peace that you just walked in, though.
It happened
You
to
know
be
what
open today.
I mean? Indeed, brother.
Good
Indeed,
luck,
brother.
Word,
Good
man.
luck.
Like,
Peace.
bro,
All right, peace. Man. Good luck, B. Yeah.
All right.
So good luck, man.
peace, peace.
Indeed. Let me read these. Brownsville Pump. Tony Brown. Peace. Oh, shit. Peace. All right, that's one of Brownsville's finest. Do for self visuals. Today's math is understanding. Understanding sharpens insight when you add knowledge and wisdom together. And then you would have to describe how does it sharpen the insight. You know what I'm saying? You also added, I see it as understanding the knowledge that I was given to be civilized and righteous in my community, by my wise words and actions. Okay, I see you trying to marriage the knowledge and wisdom, so I appreciate that. You know? Oh, Gregory, you said it wasn't a dart to me. I was stating my understanding of the degree when I speak to Muslims. It's a build I used on a Muslim not too long ago. It really wasn't a dart. Oh, that's peace, Gregory. Yeah, I just throw it out there. I don't know. Take this as a practice in a chat to always write clear. You know what I'm saying? Because people go like, oh, no, it's a chat. First of all, I'm a writer. So you're not going to get away with like, oh, I just write shitty on the thing, Sunez. It's okay, though, right? Not in this class, though. Maybe somebody else's class. But anyway, you want to learn how to write clear in a certain amount of words, right? Because, you know, like, we all got women that we might want to talk to. You don't want to mess up that text right there. You know what I'm saying? You want to get that text right. You know what I'm saying? Right? We talk to our parents, right? We talk to loved ones, right? We got to know how to, there's no option. Like, we got to know how to write correctly, you know what I mean? And write toward them, you know what I'm saying? Right? I got a daughter that is going to be 20 in August, right? And she's an adult. So we talk a lot, though. What if I talk incorrectly and I'm just a little bit too harsh or whatever like that? She'd be like, I'm an adult. I need to talk to you. I'm not trying to be unsubstantial. I'm going to do it anyway. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to get the direction and the guidance that you have, though. You know what I'm saying? And the understanding, they're not going to look to get understanding from you either. You know what I'm saying? You know, so you got to know how to talk to all these people. Part of this class is learning how to communicate, communication skills. How do we teach to those who are 5%? Like, how do we talk to each other, brother, without being like, yo, what's your name, God? How you see this, you know? And I haven't even qualified myself, but I'm being a dick, you know what I mean? Like, that kind of culture is.
You're talking white.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I know. I have to be an ass, though, to talk this, you know what I mean? How do we qualify ourselves, all that kind of stuff? How do we identify the 10%? And how do we talk to them? Because a lot of people, like young, especially, they go, like, the 10% this, but they haven't met one yet. You know what I'm saying? You know, usually your boss is really an underling. He's not really a 10%. You know what I'm saying? He's this guy that, you know, he worked. If he worked for 20 years and got a promotion, now he tells you some things to do. Ain't no 10% though. You know, he gave 20 years of his life just to get like a 1, 2, or 3 promotions. You know what I mean? That ain't no 10%. You know, sometimes your vantage point though isn't everything. You know, it isn't everything. You know what I mean? That's good. And Gregory, that's not for you as a dart or anything like that. You know, you're saying you're writing on your BlackBerry, keeps you stump bills. It's not a dart at you. I'm just saying how to you for everyone that's on there, because some of the students are ready and they're in the class and they may be on their laptop or they're taking the class as serious as possible because I don't see you in the physical. So if you're really trying to get this knowledge from me, then you have to go above and beyond. So I'm expecting your text to be proper. I'm expecting, if we go even further, I'm expecting you to give me video builds and we video chat. You know what I mean? Like with some students like Quatis, and those videos not to be shoddy, like not to be sloppy and shit, to be on point and ready. You know what I'm saying? Show that you know how to orate and things like that. You know what I mean? And it only helps because this world is demanding of us to make these kind of videos. It's demanding of us to live this kind of lifestyle like that. You know what I'm saying? Right? We don't have the opportunity to do it as we feel like. You know what I'm saying? But so it's not a dart at you, Gregory. A lot of times I don't mean to use you as a tool. You know what I mean? But I'm definitely not using you as a slave. But I use you as a tool just to make a point to the rest of the students. You know what I mean? And but see, the thing is, always speak clearly because everything could be something else. Everything could be misperceived and stuff. You know what I mean? And things like that. You know. That's why even on text and stuff like that, a lot of times we don't even ask for clarity. Like if I don't understand the text and stuff, I'm be like, I don't know what you're saying. Right? Yeah. Like, you know, a lot of times, like when you text me, guy, right? You know, if I don't really get where you're going, I'll answer like in the form of a question, like, are you trying to say, what are you saying here, that, right? We gotta learn how to be clear because, you know, dispelling confusion is what is peace. right? Peace is the absence of confusion. It's one of the dopest definitions ever. You know what I mean? That was I learned from the older guy, you know? And that absence of confusion, though, is the state that you want to always be in, what you always want to bring people to. You know, Gregory, though, the one mistake that you make, though, is that the third degree doesn't say we're God. It might affirm the emphasis of God, like, you know what I mean? What God can do in that third degree in the 1 to 14. You know, because I am, though. You know what I mean? And of course, so if you say the half original wouldn't exist if you were here, I don't know if I want credit for that, though, but, you know? You know? But what wouldn't be here if it weren't for us, though? You know what I'm saying? Because when you speak like that, then that means technically, and I'm with this train of thought. If you speak like that, then that means that everything is your blame. Confucius used to say that you're not at fault at all the time, but you're always to blame. You know what I mean? There's always something. Even us being God, I love that quote because I'm like, yo, there's always something that we did. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's always something that we did that wasn't right and exact. Even if the whole situation is not our fault. Well, we're in the situation. That's our fault for being in that situation. You know what I'm saying? And that could go from relationships to anything else, though. You know, you could be right and exact, but you could have been, well, who told you to be in that relationship? So then we would still be to blame because we chose the relationship. We chose the cycle. We chose the situation. No, close that door, guys. This piece, close it. Yeah.
You know, I did it for the comfort of the visitors, you know?
Yeah, it did get a little hot, though. Yeah, it did.
COVID shy.
Right, yeah.
Make them feel comfortable.
Yeah. But it's good now, so. You know what I mean? But let me see what else there is, though. VC Realm said, damn, they still make BlackBerry phones. You know what I mean? That's crazy that
Yes, Kassim.
Like you still have it though. Shit would still work.
Before a cell phone not recognizing you where you know, I was just shower you recognizing.
Yeah.
You gotta watch each other's backs, you know, you never know who's trying to creep up on the come up.
But you know what
though?
though?
Don't know anything about bone thugs.
What time you traveling, God?
I'm traveling now.
Okay, God. Okay.
That's
You know what's
why I-
interesting, God, though? And I'll start this conversation while you're leaving. I sometimes have issues that I'll have to address because I see stuff. And it's about Umala, you know what I'm saying? And I put it so it could be on record here. A lot of people all of a sudden know exactly what Umala was saying. You know what I'm saying? I find it real funny that people that knew him and didn't like him at all. So you were never going to get a good conversation with him because you hated him. And we'll always use them as the reason why everything was corrupt in here. But they're the ones saying like, oh, well, he said refinement this and he said refinement that. And they're getting the whole story wrong. And I've heard this story. I've heard the history from him for 20 years. You know what I'm saying? Since I got here. Mm-hmm. And some of the people don't have the relationship, for example, that we and they son, because you come out, that we had. Because we were working with him in the first boards.
And that's what people,
you know what I mean?
People talking all this stuff, but by rights of ascension, the only people who have a right to be in the positions of Allah you sent to Mecca through rights of succession and the paperwork, which I have, and I'm sure you have because we're writers and we keep it, are the people's names appear. And those are people like Y King, Wise Magnetic, it was Wise Magnetic DJ Wise.
At the time, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going for what names I see on there. Some people who don't want to be involved, I'm not going to mention their name. You, as what I think was secretary. Yeah. I was vice chairman. Mm-hmm. And a lot of things that people are coming around with is like some innovative ideas we were doing a long time. When that computer lab, then what was that brochure that we did for that? Mm-hmm. And Jamel Freedom took that thing and he brought that torch across the line. That's right. So I don't know what is being said about.
Here's my thing, guys, about specifically Umala. Now it's a narrative about this is the proper mathematics. So now people know, the students know. Yeah, I don't teach refinement in my power degree. A lot of my older students, they have it, and I don't tell them to take it out. The reason I don't teach it though is because it becomes a confused teaching. People are using the word refinement as is defined in 120 because that's the core of where we get our dialect from. So it becomes synonymous with the meaning of culture because it is a synonym. I have been teaching to use refinement in power as the word refinement means focus. You know what I'm saying? All power is focused. You know what I mean? Like, in other words, from light to a laser. All of power is focused. And it was a supplemental word. The thing I'm saying with Umala, right? If you say, we did with the original mathematics though, then refinement is not in it. Yes. And in all my teachings and every student that I've ever had, they know, right, Kasim? They know the story that goes on with it. They know how I teach it and whether I don't. Some of my students do, like the brilliant infinite mind keeps refinement in his lessons and he builds with it. Others that I teach now, they don't have it, but they know the history of why I took it out, why I don't use it specifically. You know what I mean? But the Father was if we use refinement as focus, the Father's power was always refined because he never just yelled out the black man is God in the street. He always found individuals and focused his energy to individuals that he saw. Asked Allah B, asked all of the students, read through the entire book that was written of elders, and they were all engaged one-on-one. And one of the key things that the book shows that really highlights, because it's repeated so much, right, is that the Father was doing the knowledge to each individual before they got to talk to him. So he had like a little mental dossier on potentials even before they even spoke to him, which was really genius because that's really difficult to do if you haven't even engaged them yet. You know what I'm saying?
No, not really. Not if you, the knowledge is to look, listen, and observe.
I'm saying, right.
So
But I'm saying,
the knowledge really.
the reason I'm saying that for me thinking, because I have to do this with people I'm teaching, and that's a lot of people. And then people that I might teach, but I'm not teaching yet, and I'm just doing it now. The mental database was.
Yeah, but on the same token, he was able to do that through the each one teach nine thing.
Right.
So he didn't have to, like right now, it's like you're focusing on a whole bunch of different students, whereas the Father focused on certain students, and then in turn, so it's kind of like a structure.
Right. And then he
The
had
knowledge
particular
degree.
jewels for certain individuals.
Yeah.
Right. And I see that too. The
The
reason I'm bringing this up though is that Umala, I saw erroneously saying that Umala changed. The story is that Umala was around among other gods, and they were not being right and exact with the females, the way they spoke to them. He said, you need some refinement in your power. So they started to use it. The way the narrative got rewritten was that Umala changed it years after the Father returned. That's not the story, though. The story is that they were using refinement they were using refinement in their power degree while he was still here. And he was okay with it being used by certain individuals and did not impose it on anyone else except the ones that he had spoken to. Now, in the 90s, and this is when I say, look, brothers get mad, because this is where they try to pull. This is why I can say this, though, because they can pull the tough Medina stuff, though, but that's where I'm from. We're from Medina. We do shit here. So all of that soft,
but I was raised in Mecca too.
all of that soft Mecca shit and everything like that, I'm not going to deal with you like Mecca anyway. If they want to go like that. What I'm saying is this. Let me finish the history, right? Please, don't forget. Medina never wrote history. They never wrote it, physically wrote it. In the 90s, Mecca here was writing things down. And they started to have a culture of writing things down. That led to what always happens when you write things, errors. So the bomb that everybody's going, oh, the bomb isn't right and exacto. But instead of Medina saying, can we edit this and add some edits to it, they're like, no, throw away the whole thing and stuff like that, which is totally now. And it led to a culture of saying, no plus lessons, no this. When I got knowledge, people were like, plus lessons, not writing exact. And I'm a writer, so I'm like, wait, so you can't write that? Now it's me. What am I supposed to write? If you want me to write things, how am I supposed to build a nation if the trade that I do, I can't do it? Right? We do write our understanding. The thing was, it was hypocritical because the people that told you not to write plus lessons and don't write were the first ones that every 10th day of the month, they would sprout out, here's how we see justice, penalty, man's penalty, reward for. And I'm like, yo, that's a fucking plus lesson. Every time someone starts the word justice is man's punishment, reward for da-da-da, that's plus lesson. I have that. You know what I'm saying?
The parrot in another man's understanding.
And I'm like, yo, people was saying no plus lessons, but they're quoting the great understanding off top. And they didn't
Great
give me an
mind.
understanding,
Great mind.
right? They didn't give me an understanding of understanding. They read something else. Then people tell me this is the right mathematics, and they give me somebody else's writing
To tell you not to write it.
to not to write it or not to teach it. Prove it yourself. You know what I'm saying? We all all of the elders were taught by the Father and were taught very specifically. So it's about melding what was true and the differences of what he had together.
You want to see a
So I'm
law
saying
coming
this
together.
though. I'm saying this
Law
though.
coming together.
If someone says, what is the original supreme mathematics? And we all held a symposium though, I'll be okay with saying, let's keep it simple and we leave refinement off of it. You know what I'm saying? To keep it simple, right? Say that's the original mathematics though, and this and that. But don't twist Umala's words and say that he just decided to use this because he saw fit to do later. Because that's not what he ever said. He didn't say that shit. And it's funny because somebody returns to the essence, and all of a sudden, though, the people that never liked him are the ones that tell you all of the shit that he was teaching. You know what I'm saying? Let me tell you something. The niggas that I don't like, though, you could go read their fucking shit, buy their book, watch their YouTube videos or whatever the fuck they do, because I'm not talking about them. Because if I talk about niggas that I don't like, though, I quote you. The nigga said this, and then I quote you. I open up their shit and quote them. Now, you can't do that with Umala. Don't do it. Don't talk about it. And if I say this as a lesson because people were so anti-Umala, and it was basically someone that was always overburdened and was not comfortable with the job being given to somebody else. The difficulty in passing the torch is something that you don't understand until you get older and get really good at it. And then now some young whippersnapper, right? I use an old word, use the Dumar level, era word. And Johnny Neckbone, I have to say Johnny Neckbone, right? That was
Some Johnny Neckbone.
Yes, some Johnny Neckbone. Come and do it. That's why, wait a minute. Sometimes it's not fair. Dumar was like, remember Dumar? It was like, oh, they want to make a new national spokesperson, but there's no one better than me. You know what I mean? Dumar used to say, there's no one better than me because I got everything. You know what I mean? How would you replace him? You're not better than him. You know what I'm saying? It's like things have to be groomed. But I'm saying, real simple, if you didn't even have love for Umala, then pretty much shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up and don't talk about him. Say this is the original mathematics because this is what was originally taught everywhere, and then refinement was added later. But you know what's funny? It's bad teachers. It's religious teachings. Because no one wants to get a perspective of our nation and its history. They just want you to know this is the correct way. Never remember, forget everything. It's only about this. That's not why you get a teaching at the nation. I want to know about the history of refinement. I want to know about the teachers that taught and learned different ways in Medina and Mecca and all of that. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I was taught. But they just want you to erase history. It's like, it never happened. Pretend it never happened. Pretend they never used refinement ever in a degree. But they did. So even if you teach a student and you don't use refinement in the mathematics you teach, you still have to teach them that fucking history.
Give them the choice and option to do it according to how they see the
I
knowledge.
want to say something. I'm a little sleepy. I was listening to your brother.
No, go ahead.
Say briefly, and I gotta go. I need some sleep. The power or refinement. I heard the same things. I first got my lessons from Umala, and guys have told me that power or refinement isn't an original thing, an original lessons. And my thing is, I was meditating on the mathematics and looking at myself, one day. The Father had power. So he didn't really need certain refinement things. I'm talking about in the sense of, smoking, drinking, but certain, you go through the steps. If your power you feel isn't where it should be at, then maybe you need some refinement. I feel. You know what I'm saying? That's why I understand the power or refinement thing.
Right. The argument is that the way you define refinement is synonymous with culturing. When a culture is there, it is cultured. You see? So what we live a culture. Our culture is our understanding. We live out our understanding. So it is already cultured. And then what happens is what power influences everyone else though. And power has what?
I was gonna say something
That
real quick.
influence stretches out. So what happens is that, and I'm saying the naysayers will say that the refinement has already been done.
Big guys, as soon as you got some guys that got culture with no refinement. I see it. I see it when I'm here, and I'm like, the guy needs. I don't say it out loud, but I say in the back of my head, the guy needs some type of refinement. Matter of fact, you have some guys that got culture and they got power. I guess they grounded here. They been. But I be saying the guy needs.
Right. But I'm saying that the argument is always there because then we could argue a perspective, and I say that nigga not cultured at all. The nigga's just doing the religion of this nation. A version of the religion. You know what I mean? Yeah. The truth is that I taught for years trying to say that refinement was focus, and I still see it that way. I have defined it differently than what is the way it is being used in 120. But because culture and refinement literally mean the same thing in that degree, you know what I mean? It gets confused. And that's why, as a teaching tool, though, it actually causes some confusion. You know what I mean? And that's one thing to take note of if you use refinement, that it does get confused and that you are merging these. And a lot of times it's very difficult for students to understand supreme mathematics if they don't have a very blatant separation of the degrees.
I think dumbing them down is lowering the bar. I think if they really want to learn it, they should be able to chew gum and walk at the same time. So they should be able to hold the duality of those concepts, build or destroy the principle. What's the science on that? I mean, I can see that as
Right.
One thing when we was in school, when we was in college, when I was taking a philosophy introduction, and they were going into Kantian philosophy, and they were talking about sensory a priori knowledge was the highest form of knowledge. But that's just knowledge, wisdom, understanding. If you look at it, it's knowledge, wisdom, understanding. If you break it down to simple essence. So we're taking these concepts that they're teaching in these high institutions of learning, and he broke it down into something simple, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. But yet they have a whole chapter on the concept of sensory a priori knowledge. But if you look at it and you understand it, you'd be like, well, that's just knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Sensory a priori knowledge is an understanding.
Like God will say, even to build and destroy. I feel when a person is God, if a new person is coming around, you got some guys, when I first came around, I say peace, they act like they don't want to say nothing back. Are you building or are you destroying?
Right.
Sometimes
that's called the cold current.
Sometimes when I see God, when I'm in the front, even if the person don't say hi, I'll be like, peace, God.
That's a cold current.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I get it everywhere you're coming from. I'm just giving you that history. And I do get what you're saying though about expecting the student to elevate. You know what I'm saying? But again, there's nothing that I'm not telling the student. I'm giving them the whole history. You know what I'm saying?
So it's up to them to choose their own adventure.
Right.
Peace to the God.
Peace, God. Peace to the God. Indeed, God, I will.
You just open up?
Yeah, you can leave it open.
Peace.
Peace, God. Let me read some of these comments real quick. All right. Peace, light, visible. Malik, in the 13th degree is the continue the daily, the devil teaching, or the 10%? Malik, that's referring to the devil. They continue daily. Yeah. It's a little beat up with saying, but they continue daily. The devil or the 10%, that's pretty much the same thing. So yeah, definitely. It'd be the devil. You're on that's the 140 though. But they continue daily. Yeah, that's referring to the devil, 10%. Right. And I understand, do for self, that it was how it was given to you, right? But part of learning this is also learning the story of how it got to be given to you. You know what I'm saying? Not just given to me, you know what I'm saying? And for so long, though, it's just, the truth is that Medina didn't write anything. And in those years, they probably should have came up here and really built about it. You know what I'm saying? And said, look, let's make a definitive decision about this.
So, I mean, maybe they was writing, I guess, within the jail system, or was because I hear that's part of it also too, like some of the knowledge.
Nah, from what I know, the thing is that again,
up in jail,
this is where most people generally come,
right.
And it's by the 90s, people were actually giving out paper. You know what I mean? Literature, like in other words, you're getting your math and alphabet, a piece of paper and stuff. You know what I mean? This is different. This is a development. You know what I'm saying? And it's typed up. You know, they typed up a history of the father to give out. You know what I'm saying? And they were just giving this out to whoever came. You know what I mean? Colleen had the copy machines going. You know what I'm saying? And giving out copies. You know, and then they mail copies. So it's happening at the same time. You know. But what I'm saying is that
all that was coming from that.
they didn't. Yeah, and Medina. You know, you can't beat the press. You know what I'm saying? And once they made press out of it, though, it just became something where we eye roll and, you know, we do it clandestine and, you know, we're more clandestine, Medina, but we do it the right way. And that became the way, you know what I'm saying? Right. And a lot of it, though, is also, to me, generalizing cliches. You know, the rough and tumble Medina, a truth. But then the cliches of like, we're not typing this out and giving a dandy like they're doing and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Right. People are giving into the stereotypes so they don't engage and say, you know. And also, I think it's a mistake of Mecca too. That to say that they're going to write something and say, listen, let's get people, all the elders that are valid and let us decide upon this. Right. You know what I'm saying? That should have been done. And things like that were done, but not well enough. Not well enough. Where this wouldn't be an argument, you know what I mean? But the truth is that I say that about Umala because I loved Umala. I loved Umala. Like,
and he interested.
When he was here, I loved him, and I loved, you know what I mean? And I had massive disagreements with him. You know what I mean? About the way you run the school and everything like that. But a lot of it was just because I felt like he was overburdened and that he wasn't, you know, he was. This whole school he was running the school like he was just like Prince. You know what I mean? And I don't mean Prince, firstborn Prince. I mean Prince, the musician. You know what I mean? He's playing every instrument and shit like that. And in this reality, it doesn't need the good music. You know what I mean? It leads to a lot of like things that are just getting all wrong. You know what I mean? So a lot of the accounting, a lot of the other stuff is not being done very well. You know what I mean?
One person.
Yeah, you know, and then what happens is that so many people come through here. And you can imagine the 90s where like music is so dope and you're getting all kinds of people that they're not really looking for this though. I mean, this is more so, especially in my early years teaching, I had students that literally say, listen, you know, I rap and everything. I just want my shit to be complete. Nigga, right? These are real things people told me. Like, right. They want their rhymes to be complete. Like, right. So that, you know, yeah, like, you know, like I can talk about all these things and shit. Like, it just be killing it, you know? And then people just, you know, enamored by the artists themselves and you just want to see, maybe they'll meet the artist. And you get people going, yeah, you know, how often does RZA come through?
Yo,
you know?
I actually seen a tweet like that recently where the person says, and I retweeted it, like, oh, I gotta show this shit to Sunez. But the person was like, oh, I guess all you gotta do is wear low and be a 5%.
Oh, yeah. That's Jamon Casal said that. Yeah. He one of the great MCs today. You know, he was right though. He just, you know, talk shit and everything like that. You know what I mean? But
it's crazy.
Malik X, why is the gods meaner or rougher in Medina? I mean, I'm from Brooklyn though, so I can give you a whole biased reason. It's Brooklyn itself. It's not gods from Medina. It's Brooklyn itself. You know what I mean? And I'm not even from the toughest neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? But even just the Brooklyn reality, if you weren't from the worst neighborhood, you had to go somewhere. So from us from Sunset, we had to go places to get props. So we had that experience of always having to navigate somewhere else. You know, I think a lot of it is because culture wasn't always around. What I mean is this, right? When I lived in the Bronx, and the history of people I know from the Bronx, hip hop was like, even by the 90s, hip hop is still there somewhere. You know, where you could go to it. Puerto Rican communities have like cultural outlets, you know, like they're still there, you know what I'm saying? Where I was from, I'm in a Puerto Rican neighborhood, we don't have those outlets. So I had to go to Harlem, Spanish Harlem. I had to go to the Bronx. I had to go, you know, so like that Brooklyn mentality of like, yo, we're gonna go get it. Like if we don't have it here, we're gonna go get it. We have to go get it, you know? And then that becomes, you know, Brooklyn keeps on taking it, you know what I mean? And it's just the mentality, whether it's good or bad. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's good or bad, you know. For me, I would say it became good because I never boosted anything low. But I was probably stealing as many records as people were boosting pieces, you know what I mean? And then once I was starting to get knowledge though, I was stealing books from libraries all the time. All the time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Indeed.
All the time, man. I had so many books with like original bounds and
Yeah.
you know, only a library book bound, like they, you know, hardcovers that don't exist only for libraries, like, you know, because I couldn't afford it. And I was like, I gotta have this, I gotta have it. I just had to have it, man. You know what I mean? That's why even in this classroom, I can offer you my giant digital library.
Right.
I don't.
Whole heap.
We kept going, yeah. I kept going. You know what I mean? That need was there to me. You know what I'm saying? Because the only way to get this knowledge and information and resources and culture is like we have to buy everything, and I just has always been against that. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that's why. You know what I mean? I think so too. That after the years that the father was in Mattawan, I think were harder. That wasn't really where he was home to, but he made it home for a while.
Yeah.
And so it was more gritty. It was more strange, you know. So I think that rubbed off on them too. More gritty reality. You know what I mean? Because this is him taking the teachings himself somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, and it's a combination of a lot of things, but it's, you know, it is what it is. You know, because in the truth of it, as all of the elders grew from all the boroughs, it's not really a softer borough. You know what I'm saying? Because the truth is that the roots of elders in all the boroughs are street rooted.
Yeah.
You know, they all were young kids doing the wrong thing and got right. You know what I mean? So I don't have an elder that didn't go to jail. You know what I'm saying? And in some, there were, you know, I'm like one of the first generation that, you know, didn't do any, you know, crimes. Like, what crimes I was caught shoplifting. You couldn't get every record. You know?
Right.
Couldn't get every record. You know what I mean? You know? But yeah, that's where that comes from. You know what I mean? But I think it's a good lesson, you know? And I think that the way it's being taught now, that's religious to teach this knowledge where you don't give a history of how things developed.
Right.
You just go, oh, niggas was wrong for mad long and shit like that. That's not the case because it takes away the sincerity and the love that a lot of people was really learning and doing with, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then also with the refinement thing, it really was about focus. It just, you know, brothers were not that articulate like that to get it like that.
Right.
So it became a way of saying it, and it always sounded like culture. But it was really about the focus. Like it was origins with like how to deal with women that you see and everything. Well, you got a lot of power. I know there's a lot of things that you want to share with that woman, but you ain't know it like that. You got to focus. You got to give out little bits. You can't, you know, and that's a foundation of the father's teachings and the way he was dealing with people. You know what I mean? No pictures of the father on a pulpit. No pictures of him on a soapbox. No stories of him teaching entire congregations unless it was Parliament and we were already sequestered. You know what I mean? But there's no like in the middle of the streets thing. No, he left that and really demanded that the youth do that. That they be the shining light that other people are attracted to. You know what I mean? And that also says a lot about him because, you know, he wasn't really old at all.
No, he wasn't.
You know, so like to still give the mantle to the youth, you know what I mean? I mean, I have to say, there's a lot of stress, man.
Right.
And the firstborns, the ones that I've known, and the elders that were around when he was around, and the first fruit, they were pains in the ass. You know what I mean? I'm knowing them as grown men that I had this dance for years, and they still were pain in the asses. You know what I mean? I was like, man, I don't. Shit, yeah. A lot of the firstborn though, I would not have taught. I don't know if I would have been able to teach firstborn Prince. You know what I mean? But what's crazy is that he was able to teach everyone though.
Right.
He was an incredible teacher though. You know what I mean? If you worked hard, but like he was sincere, he didn't yell. He wasn't those teachers that yelled at you and shit like that. You know what I mean? If you were sloppy and off point, he'd ride you, but like he was really a great teacher. You know what I mean? So it's like amazing. You know, amazing. You know what I mean? It's probably the greatest teacher I've ever learned about is the Father. It's amazing what he did. You know what I mean? And the more that I've taught these years, the more I realize that. You know what I mean? The more you learn, like, oh, you did this. You know what I mean? That shit is hard. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the ways that he had to teach daily, I have the opportunity to be able to write something that you could study and then come back to me and develop, you know? He's having to do this with back and forth, you know what I mean? Students have to memorize what he shared and then come back with something. I mean, that is a lot of work, you know what I mean?
Indeed.
That's a lot of work. That's an entire school system he's doing. And there's no, I've never heard any elder tell me like, oh, he had a notepad and he would write things about everybody. Nothing. The minister notepad, the book with the minister, and that they would, you know, put everybody in the hot seat. Those are the gods doing that. You know, naming themselves the minister and everything like that, and go and taking people through it. That was them doing that. But there's no, I've never heard the Father like writing down like, oh yeah, you do this, you know what I mean? This, that. And sometimes I do that so I can keep it. I gave Kasim this, I gotta get him this. You know, I write notes so that way I don't forget. Right? And if I don't write the note, that's why I get you guys to remind me, like, yo, y'all gotta harass me. Like, I don't know how he did it. It's just amazing. They have a parlor with all of those, and so many of them, though, he had something to say to each one of them, though, that would show that he was doing the knowledge. It's Malik said a scholar of a different nature. Yeah, that is what I said in that old video in a class or like that. But that's why I say that. You know what I mean? I still marvel at it. You know what I mean? It's amazing. And that, you know, that, and what that shows me is that there's really nothing that you can't really learn and go learn, you know what I'm saying? And be a polymath, learn all these different disciplines just for the sheer reason that it would just make you sharper. You know what I'm saying? There's so many things to do the knowledge to, you know what I mean? But, yeah, this shit's amazing to me. But, you know, I had to say that because I have particular people in my head. I don't say their name and shit like that. You know what I mean? But it's corny to me. And there's another issue that I have since it's quiet here in the chat and stuff. But this isn't in the field that I'm into, in music and journalism and this industry and shit. It goes with all things. There's two types of veterans, though. You know what I mean? And just because you become a veteran doesn't mean that you are worthy of the honor of that title. You just been around a long time, nigga. You know what I mean? A lot of people, they were around and then they have mad gaps where they didn't do shit. And then they come back and say, but they want to put those years as like, yo, I did 20 years. I did 25. I was here 25 years and shit. And I'm like, nigga, you were not. You were not. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I say, look, if I say 21 years, right? That guy want 22 because the year that I spent learning, then that's 22 years. 22 full years. These are Kobe years. These are Kobe every game shits. You know what I mean? I'm there the whole time. You know what I mean? This isn't mad gaps though. I wasn't being an 85 and shit. I wasn't locked up under an assumed name and not doing shit. You know what I mean? I was doing shit. So when people start acting like, yo, I've been around and I'm down with this, they literally, for some people, they waited for Umala to pass and now they could say shit. And as our elders return, these people's gonna come around and act like they know shit. And I'm telling you, you don't know shit. You've just been told what to say very well. And that shows because you can't really show and prove anything. All you can do is say, this is official stamped. And basically, you're not really a teacher because you're not really instructing. A teacher instructs and gives a truth that he has, but in the lesson of a form. where you could go and use it to see if it's true and see how it could make your life greater by testing it, proving it, and then now you have a forum where you could do something that you weren't able to do before. But these are directives that I'm hearing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This is it. This is the way it is. It was this. Nah, because niggas, what's their reason? They don't know the history. So let's go. Nah, niggas didn't know. Now I was taught. And they they bring up, maybe universal shame gods plus lesson. They bring up something else. You know what I mean? And I'm like, but you can't tell me why he wrote that. You can't tell me the details of why he wrote that because you built with nobody in the lineage to give you the real details. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem. These niggas don't know shit. So what happens is this teaching it borders on religion. We're talking about the spiritual. We're talking about who we are outside of the immediate. Just that alone. Anytime you talk about things outside of the immediate, the macro reality, you're talking about something that could be very, very, that could lead into religion. And anytime you take anything, whether it's a lie or it's a truth, and make it into something that this is it, this is the way it is, and this is how we do it, with no questioning. Nobody has the chance to go, I'm here to teach it the right way and shit. You're already fucking up the teaching.
Yeah.
You're fucking up the teaching because that's not. People think being a 5%er is teaching the teaching. It's about the way that you teach. It's about the way that you teach because at 97% of the people you teach though aren't going to be the true living God.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie. There's been times where I really, stopped and was, thinking like, yo, is this shit for me? Because not building with you, but building with other brothers at times, it'd be like, damn, this shit feel like this is religious, bro. Like
I fucking hate. I hate religion.
I'm joining a cult. I know we're a culture, but this ain't.
Yeah, I hate religion. I hate religion. I want people to have.
Ain't making it like that. I became part of this
because
interested.
They're not teachers. They're not teachers. Everyone has to find a vocation. Not everybody is a teacher.
Right.
Not everybody knows how to teach, and not everybody has the respect of the low percentage of teaching. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. That you have to share so much, and very few will be what you think is the ideal of what it is. You know what I'm saying? I teach all of this though. I teach all of this. And the focus has always been, is this person going to live a more righteous life as they go outside? And the more that they're in the classroom, then the next goal is at least they know what we teach here. So if they don't live it out, they could direct people to really want to learn this, right? And if they're actually taking on the mantle of saying, I'm the true and living God on the earth, then that continues to say, listen, this is what it is. This is the deeper historical notes, and this and that. You know what I mean? But people aren't teachers. You know what I mean? You're teaching for yourself so that you could say you're a 5%er, so that you say you have the students.
Right.
That's weak. You know what I mean? I'll give you history, right? I started teaching in 2000. I've been teaching this way, the way that I do it, this whole time. And elders used to tell me, now you need to collect those students. I've had elders tell me, don't give them everything. And I said, I got to give them everything that I think that they can use. But then they might not come back though. They weren't going to come back. You know what I'm saying? Because my thing is, what if they don't come back? Then they need something that at least I gave them,
Right.
that they could use. You know what I mean? And so the idea is never to fill up the seats. But that has become the way of teaching, and it's where I contrast with almost everyone. It's not about filling the seats, it's the quality of the teaching, the way that we're teaching. And look, it serves me correct because this teaching can easily go broad. If we do this a long time, the slow and steady route. So let's take, for instance, let's keep it real. I did it slow and steady. I taught for years, God, where every other session had 0 people in here. I didn't advertise it. I didn't tell, hey, come on in, announce yourself, hey. Come on in. I didn't do that. For years, I didn't, even when the social media started, I didn't even use it to tell people how to class. I very rarely did. You know what I mean? I was very careful how I did that. But over time, though, if the things that you make, the things that you write, the things that you share, if they are qualitative, then they will pass qualitatively enough. You know what I mean? And because of the real glory is that there are things people might say that I said, and I have articulated it the way I think I want it to be, the way I truly want it to be, so well, so repeatedly, that other people could correct someone that gets my shit wrong.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Nah, as soon as don't say no shit like that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's a slow and steady shit. Not trying to get everybody to sit here, because after a while, a lot of people don't know what it's like. And that's why I know that they're raw. A lot of people don't know what it's like, though, to have a student not deal with it anymore after a long time, because they just couldn't. So you have to teach people to be righteous. And that even if they don't deal with this, though, they still will be a righteous person. They haven't dealt with students that go through hardship. They haven't dealt with students that get killed, that die. You know what I'm saying? I've dealt with all of that. So a lot of people don't really know what that grind is. So it's all fame grind. It's all fame. I said it's all fame grind. You know what I mean? We do a lot of pictures for IG. We're gonna put it out here. I walk in and talk to all these people. I make declarations on my Twitter. This is the way it is. This is the way it ought to be, and shit like that. But do you really go out there and teach youth that way?
Right.
That they can't challenge anything? Like the mathematics. Is that how you teach the mathematics? Like, it's knowledge, wisdom, understanding, culture, power. You know what I mean? And if you decide that it's not, get the fuck away from me. You know what I mean? If it's a young kid, what do I tell you, right? I give you the math. I said, listen, make your questions why it doesn't work for you.
Right.
Try to figure out why this shit is wrong, as opposed to trying to fit why it's right. Anybody could do that, though. Look at the society we live in, though. We listen to fucking people listen to shit music all day, and they make that shit sound good to them.
Right.
If we went and took most of the fucking music on the radio and went back 20 years to the most popish, sellout ass nigga back then, they would say, "What the fuck are you listening to?" You know what I'm saying? Like, if we went to the most disco ass sellout in 1979, and we showed them, like, this is what they listen to today. It's like, that's not even music. It's like, nigga, I thought the shit that you're listening to is not music. You know what I mean? But I'm saying, like, you know what I mean? We are constantly making things work. You know what I mean? This food tastes good. I know it's horrible. I'm going to get a massive stomachache, but it tastes so good. I'm going to make it work.
Right.
We're always made. That's what we do. We're going to teach the knowledge of self like that too. Now you got to do something different. You have to contrast something different, because then their life is always the same. They sit there, and I'm telling from experience, they'll be sitting there, or they'll be with you, and they're like, it's like my life got more constricted as opposed to more free. And are you telling me I got to be 40 years old to get
the freedom?
To get the freedom? You know what I'm saying? Again, rules.
That's how they be saying it. Bro.
Again, because people say, like, you can't use. Listen.
Freedom is only applied to 40.
I understand when they build why freedom is applied. It has to do with the father. It has to do with the levels of development.
Right.
But we know that we're dealing with culture freedom all the time. You know what I'm saying? So it's technically being applied. It is being applied. Because every time you live in culture, you ought to be thinking, we're original people stuck in this fucking oppression. How are we not thinking about freedom all the time? It's not logical that freedom is always on the mind.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's always on the mind, right? Let's get free, right? DPs, right? It's always in the mind. So so when we say, we have to understand rules that were made to emphasize a particular insight. But people don't know why they were made. They don't know that they're not as exclusive as they should be, that they, you live out that, and so they're not really learning. They're not, and they're certainly not teaching. You know what I mean? It's crazy, and my biggest disappointment in this nation has always been my age group. Always been my age group. You know what I mean? I don't want to stereotype my age group, But if I had to shit on one segment of the nation, I'd be my age group, my whole peer group. I've always been disappointed. You know what I mean? It's a whole bunch of fucking star screams. You know what I mean? Right? It's dope too because it's Starscream. He's a whining, bitching ass, Decepticon, right? In the cartoon, but they're supposed to be stars. We're supposed to be the best part, but they're a bunch of Starscreams. They're always looking at what everybody else is doing, and not saying that. When I added on to this nation, I was looking at like, what could I do that would be really sincere, that could really help, that I could do that nobody else could do. And it was because everybody else Legends was teaching it when I started. You know what I mean? So I was like, nah, it's not right. I don't even need to be here. What do I have that's going to be worthwhile? So when people talk about, look, I'm not a veteran because everybody else died off. I was teaching here when everybody was here.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I had something unique to share while Colleen was here, while Firstborn Prince was here, while all the elders was here, while my own enlightener was still teaching his class. You know what I'm saying? So people don't know the history and they just make up shit. Now you can tell me like, you're gonna really sit down here, and it's a fucking embarrassing because they'll have people here tell you about what happened here, and they only tell you what they want to do here because they don't like what's being done here, but they don't know any of the journey of how it became here. I literally know the journey of the entire floor here since I came here. You know what I mean?
Right.
When I became a teacher here, I spoke and built with every single person at length for days, years, months, and days, whenever I got the opportunity of how to teach it. People like Dark Kim that you get to see now and stuff. I spent time with Dark Kim to see what it's like teaching. What will be my journey? What will I do? Dark Kim would come to my class, inspect it, do student knowledge, inspect it. You know what I mean? See what I was doing wrong, this and that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But these elders, they adapted to my style, which is very different, completely different than what was done here.
Right.
I would like to say revolutionary, certainly unorthodox, but it's definitely a revolutionary way of teaching that I brought here that wasn't being done here. You know what I mean? And these elders helped me do it. They didn't get in the way. They helped me do it. You know what I'm saying? In general, they're not 100%. Some people are assholes, but you know what I mean? And some people pain in the ass, but in general, they did help. But that's been a beef with mine, God, like for a while. And then I see that, and I'm like, did they even love these elders? Or they just, they didn't, they didn't know. I could tell, like people like Umala, they always looked like they knew everything that they were doing, though. But that's because they had to do so much. They always had to look like professional. You know what I mean? And anything that they really couldn't do, they tried to sweep it or set it aside or give you like,
almost.
Give you a million reasons like, no, we're going to get to that. But, But when you spoke to him, though, man, he had a lot of his gods. You know what I mean? And trust me, I know, like, this is a school, like, people don't get that. To man this school, certain elders, and I won't mention their names and stuff like that because this is things that they share with me and stuff, but they lost their families. Like, their family didn't understand. Like, why do you have to go open that school every day? Like, why do you have to do it? You know, because like you're saying, like, you go to Parliament, you see all these niggas. Like, how can one of these? There's like hundreds of people here. How can one of them do it? Because after the fun of the Parliament, like, how many people really? You know what I'm saying? This title of being ourselves is so dynamic. It's so exciting that it's really cool. It's fucking cool. It's fun. You know what I mean? That's why people like, they always ask me like, yo, Sunez, like, if people misuse things, but like, I don't, even in my own writing about music, somebody says that they're the God, I don't be bombing them and shit like that. I'll even do interviews with brothers that be saying that they're the God, and be like, you ain't no 5% of those. Tell the people now that you ain't, like, I expose you, just doing it. That's my show every week, though. I will expose you. You were just a rapper. You know what I mean? If they really are about it, I try to like give them props and put them out there and share the difference. But this is the greatest title, and you can't. The black man is naturally God. You can't fault that man for putting that in the rap.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the thing is, right? People go to Parliament, they go to these things. That's all they want. They want the battery in the back to say that I can't take on this title. And what happens is that every experience that they encounter is a proof that they're God. So they're not. It's churchy. They're not God because they created something. They came up with an understanding that they feel is truly theirs. They made up some type of way of teaching their children, and then they share it like to the other kids that they see in the community, or they come back here to see the kids that gather and try to share it. Right. Now, they came here, and now they can say, "Yo, I be at the school. I go to Parliament, though. I'm the God." Like, you know what I'm saying? You gave yourself history in the nation by attending the event. It's the same thing with fucking music. People are around at certain shows, or they're around things, and now all of a sudden they're a veteran now. They release bullshit albums year after year, and now, after all this time, though, now you're a fucking veteran. No, you're a shitty musician that I don't know who keeps buying this shit. I don't... Fucking, I'm sorry.
Yeah, somebody.
Right? Somebody likes it, but you're no fucking legend, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, it's the same thing. That's not going to stop. You know what I'm saying? That's not going to stop. But it's disappointing because you see it now in my peer group, my age group, you know what I mean? And the years that you got this knowledge aren't necessarily the years you are in this nation. The age you are in this nation. I'm not saying as God. I'm saying the age in this nation, this collective of like-minded individuals that are working to make a society of men, women, children that deal with this knowledge. Nah, that is fucking different. And a lot of niggas, though, they might have it for 20, 25, and they're fucking 5-year-olds. You know what I'm saying? They're 5-year-olds. But see, a 5-year-old that might be coming around regularly, though, is actually a fucking 2-year-old to me. You know what I'm saying? Right. Because the hours I put in here are so much longer than the average visitor. You know what I'm saying? The average visitor, that shit doesn't fucking count. And I'm doing this on purpose, so it's on the video. You know what I'm saying? I do it on purpose, so it's on the video. Because if I see people, they're not going to want to hear this shit from me. You know what I'm saying? And then they're going to go, as soon as I see his kung fu videos, he's just trying to be a bully and shit like that. Now, I'm a 135-pound bully. You know what I'm saying? Whoever heard of such a gigantic bully? You know what I'm saying? Now I'm a fucking bully. But the thing is, though, is that people don't really have real histories. And now we teach youth, and you're lying to them about your histories. You're lying about your history, though. So how could it be past anything else about the history of others? You know what I'm saying?
It creates a whole
fucking bullshit, because the individual, the true story that each God has is exactly what they should be using, because that's the best thing. You know, some of the best gods that have ever taught, they had mad gaps in what they was doing for this nation. And some of that, though, is some of the most vital lesson. You know what I'm saying? Go look at Wise Jamel, remembered in perfection. Go look at the histories of Fakim, remembered in perfection. Their gaps are what they emphasize as not doing things for this nation when they should have been, and then how much of a burst they came back, though, with that insight. Because it's like living an 85 life with this knowledge.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not being bougie. I don't have that experience. But the elders that embraced whatever their real life was and came back to teach those are the ones that really taught the most. And the ones that stayed here. And what do we mean stay here? Like, it's not about who stays. Because you build such a church structure that you have churchgoers that are coming here, not really gods and earths. You know what I'm saying? The truth is, the way I'm teaching people, it lets them go. You know what I'm saying? I let them go. Look at the first thing I said to Zion. I said, listen, you stay here as long as you need to, however you decide that you want to learn.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because if he's not that type of person to even want to affiliate with nothing, he's just not, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Then, but if he leaves, he's going to leave not just knowing that we're righteous, but knowing ideas about, I have to do more research about what I think I am. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what I was teaching them.
Right.
That the research of learning about you better ought to be. Mm-hmm. See, we made it to black man is God, this. But what he's going to go home with is like, they said the black man is God, but it's based on who you are. And I couldn't really tell you what I am.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like really put it into words. Like, who am I? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Probably people can only do that though when they want to fuck. Like when they try to fill out one of those things in the app. You know what I mean? Dating app. Right? They can fill that out. You know what I mean? When I'm ready to go in, I'm trying to go in though. Oh man, they give you your whole bio. Right? When you're trying to get that money, what's your bio though? Oh, I do this, that. You know what I mean? But who are you? Who are you really? You know what I'm saying? And how would you describe yourself to you as your own internal conversation? You know? And then you start to realize, like, have I been bullshitting to myself? Like, you know, that's what you realize. You're getting out of yourself. You've been bullshitting a lot to yourself. You've been lying in your own internal dialogue of what you think you are. It's crazy. That's the core of knowledge of self. You know what I mean? And when the dialogue changes, though, when you really see yourself as like, yo, I really can do everything. And the way I'm feeling right now is the circumstances. You know what I mean? So let me try to understand this depression, this sadness, this frustration I'm feeling. But I know that it's not me. I know I'm something else. I know, you know what I mean? This is what that knowledge of self is, God. That's what it is. But if we have just people come around, yo, black man is God, truly God, you know, you put your chest out, you know, then you're just throwing batteries. You just, you know, that's not teaching. It's not forms. Batteries. Batteries run out. Batteries run out. You know what I'm saying? Batteries run out, though. You know what I mean? You got to give people forums, though, where they could build things on their own. You know what I mean? The expectation, not that they have to give things to declare themselves in something, right? If you notice, I don't make you declare something here, but to go home and make sure that you try to do something that actually defines you as a creator. Try to create something. Try to make something. Take note of when you are creating. This is being the true and living God, the true and living. This is what it is. Not that other shit. And then when you become when your warriorship then extends itself and you say, listen, I'm going to get with these band of people here because we're going to bring this to every fucking body, right? Everybody we're going to go bring it to. Then you start saying, how can I add on with these people here? How can I do this? How can I add on? You know what I mean? But it's what was it? Performance activism. You know what I mean? It's a lot of performance activism because that's the times we live in. You know what I mean? Woke niggas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, everything's a nice show of activism, and I showed this, I showed that. You know what I mean? A lot of this stuff isn't shown. You're teaching people though, and they never know. You know what I mean? They'll never know. You know what I mean? I've taught people, God, and I'm saying, I've taught people 10 years later, said, God, you said something. And I was like, it was just a little thing I said. I said, yo, God, that thing you said, I kept remembering it, changed my whole life. These are things that make you, that humble you, because they show you that, like, listen, if you articulate something well, you better make sure that this fucking shit is true.
Right.
You know what I mean? To the best of your ability, because people will go live it out, though. You know what I mean? And then us being original men, though, and the things that we do, though, we do everything dope. We selling kids things that are not true in all the fucking dope ways. You know what I'm saying? You go out casino, get the fly, follows, shit. Tell something to somebody, it's like, yo, man, that man is doing it. He's doing it. You know what I mean? Oh, man, I gotta just do whatever fucking, you know what I mean?
Right.
But you said something that just sounded good, but you didn't really, or even worse, so something that was true, but you taught it wrong because you haven't even begun to try it.
Right.
You haven't begun to try to live it out at all. You know what I mean? And now what you may have done something like give somebody a teaching that is way beyond their level, something like that, just because you know it sounds good and you wish you was doing it, but you know, because you're lying to yourself. You don't have a good internal dialogue, right? And this is what happens. You know what I mean? And all of this is in my head because I hear people talking about Umala, and it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. You know what I mean? They want to say what he was doing and things like that, but they never been in on board. They weren't in any board. You know what I mean? And what I mean is not the meetings that go Saturday, we're gonna have a meeting, and everybody comes to the school at Dixie Hamlet. Everybody's in school crowded and you go, no, God, that ain't the way to do it. That ain't the way to do it. We gotta do it like this. No, not those meetings. I've been in a lot of those. I'm talking about the ones where it all dies down. It's in the middle of the month. It's on a weeknight. And you come to the school, though, and you say, listen, did you get these things here? And you meet people like P.E.A.C.E, a legend in this nation. You know what I mean? Remembered, this is why I say remembered in perfection. There's no way to know P.E.A.C.E. You know what I'm saying? A giant. The last time I saw him, though, he was giving me plans and stuff. Has cigar in his mouth. That's the way I'm always going to remember him, though. You know what I mean? The real life Hannibal. That was Hannibal. You know what I'm saying? And the things that they were doing, P.E.A.C.E, all these elders here, you'd come here on a weekday, right? Not mine. I come here a different one. Not Thursday.
Right, another.
Another weekday. Get a meeting. It's they're doing this stuff. Oh, look, the guy's building this. He's doing this. You know what I mean? Okay. You know what I mean? We'll do that. You know what I mean? Oh, we got to fix this though. Okay. You know? All right. Well, let's fix this. You know, let's throw these things out. Let's do this. Fixing some of the things at the school. Little things just because. You know what I mean? Troubleshooting things. You know what I mean?
Maintenance.
All that kind of shit. You know what I mean? Drawing shit up, copy editing it, writing things so it makes sense, so we would look more official. These are the shits that I was doing. You know what I mean? These niggas was nowhere. These niggas was nowhere. You know what I mean? But then they come in and say, no, it's like this because I was given like this and this. You don't know none of the history of the place she's at, though. You know what I mean? Right? I'm telling you, that Trey Young. You're not good enough to, you know, Trey Young, you come in the building, rock it, and then bow. You know what I mean? This ain't MSG. You know what I'm saying? This ain't MSG. You know what I mean? The chat is all quiet. Oh, yeah, quiet though. You know what I mean? I'm riffing here. You know what I mean? But this was something I was gonna build on no matter what, though. Guys. It was something I was gonna say because I didn't want to let that go. I'm not gonna get on the internet and be arguing about that shit. You know what I mean? When I go on social media, though, it's like, yo, you either buy my books, watch my shows and shit like that. Fuck everything else. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, if you're not doing none of that shit, I don't want to hear nothing. You know, I don't want to buy none of my shit. You keep it moving. But the shit is crazy. This shit bugs me out. You know what I mean? And it's interesting because I'm very interested about this show and proof, you know?
I was wondering if you was gonna pull up or not. I mean, you say you usually do.
I have always done, you know what I mean? I have always gone to show and proof, you know? Probably have my little one with me.
Right.
So
Yeah, I was wondering, you know what I mean? Same thing with me.
yeah, because it's supposed to do something in the yard. If the weather's good, then I could you know, I could do more with her and stuff like that. You know, she buffers me though because she'll be like bored and everything.
Mm-hmm.
She'll be like, I want to do this and do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know. Does anybody on the chat, anybody have any questions about it? Please ask. You know what I mean? I'm riffing here, going off.
I got a couple
Bill's
questions in mind too. I know I had sent you a long ass email
Yes, I didn't even get a chance to read all of it.
a couple weeks ago, but I kind of went back over it and, you know, experiencing life and shit. And I think the real gist of what I was trying to say, because even watching your class from last week, where you was, you know, speaking on the emphasis of the student having the right questions, you know what I mean? I was watching that and it made me think, like, all right, what I'm really trying to get at, you know? And you was also like, you also mentioned figuring out what's the interest of your student, you know? I think the thing with me, a lot of the shit that I'm trying to figure out and get the understanding of is like, the scientific process of these things that we are saying and proclaiming, you know what I mean? Because it's something that I agree with and I align with, but with us going out there and teaching it, you gotta have certain explanations, this, that, and the other, right? But I be thinking far out about shit because, you know, just my own personal experiences. But in simple, how would, I guess, you know, you Sunez or the 5%er perspective see what we would call probability or random acts? You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of the stuff that people view as mystery or whatever is also based upon random acts, or going back to the universe thing, like, oh, I'm in tune with it or I'm aligned with it because quote unquote something worked in the favor or in the odds.
If everything is balanced,
nothing I ask, bro, is from some mystery shit. I ain't grow up in no church. I ain't grow up in no mosque. You know what I mean? The whole thing that drew me to this was like, okay, this makes the most sense compared to all the other shit, because that shit don't make no sense to me at all. You know what I'm saying? So it's still certain things that operate in the universe that I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm the true living, understand the other, but so it should be aligning with. It's like, okay, I didn't think that was gonna happen. Or it's like going to the store, it's a low piece that you wanted, and they was like, yo, man, we just about to sell this size, but you know what I mean, it's your lucky day. We got your size, you know what I mean? It's the last one out the box. You'd be like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Someone mysterious be like, oh, thank God this happened for me today. I got my lucky polo shirt. You know what I mean? We don't deal with a mystery, so how would you view?
Well, there's two things, right? The entire universe is all based on how we create it.
Right.
And thus it's mathematical. So everything is a mathematical equation just colliding. So everything can be expressed mathematically. You just don't know all the equations of what's colliding.
Right.
The other thing is this: certain things are traveling and you don't see them. and that is the thought. So it's also your own thought, and thoughts cling together. This is the whole principle, air like attract. You know what I mean? So like, oh look, I wanted this piece and it's here, shit like that. Listen, it happens all the time though. The more you think about something, the more you become in tune with it.
Right.
And the thing is that if you are willing to make it born, it'll most likely encounter it though. The information you want, the information you don't. The truth is that most people don't want what they dream of, and they cannot handle it, so they don't really get it though. You know? And then other aspects of it, like, well, I really, really want to be rich though, and it doesn't happen, or I really want to get the lotto and it doesn't really happen. That's totally different. That's totally different because there's no actual mental effort that you're giving in that could override the mental effort and thoughts of anyone else. Right? So it becomes random because everybody is shooting for it, so it's all negated. You get what I'm saying? And the thing is, people want to be rich though, but then now that goes against other realities. Like, for example, we're like, oh, look, but I work and I want to be rich and things like that. First off, the society is designed where no one is really supposed to be rich. Okay, so like when we look at like a society with millions of people, and then we count how many billionaires there are in the entire world, and there's only a handful of these people. Really, technically, there's like a handful. There's like 0.0001 people that are really, really rich. So basically, how could you draw that up? By just desiring it or wanting it or even working for it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You actually have to focus on saying, not only am I working for it, but I'm going to do all of the things that only get to that level. You see? And based on the society you're in, it might not even be up in the cards. You may not have had the physical gifts or the talents to develop, right? Or the forms and the opportunities to develop it. You know what I mean? So all of these things that people talk about random though is really the reality that what? The reality that you're born into. Because even no matter what we say also, right? We're a reality of the mind, the son of man. The man is the true and living God. The son of man. It meant the birth of that son from the man. So it's a revolving thing. So your reality is also in line and because of the things that have happened before. So it's one mind you, but also all mind. You see what I'm saying? So technically it's the God, but it's also all of that black man mind. All of the mind is one as well. You know what I mean? And that includes what? All of those that are in line with you, all of those that are not in line with you, and all those building things that are contrary to what you see, and all those things that are building for you. All of these things is colliding. Technically, the real answer is too much math. When people deal with probability, when you deal with probability science, though, it's really too much math.
Even as a theory, too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I looked it up, it was like, oh, it's a mathematical, they call it the probability theory. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Right. Because you don't know what's going to happen. Right? You know what most likely going to happen the more you reduce the variable to, let's say, heads or tails. Right? You reduce the variable, and then there are percentages and stuff like that. But what happens when there are infinite amount of variables?
Like a game of CeeLo.
Now no one can really figure out a good probability.
Because I'm like, what's the sign between the nigga having a good
That's
hand
why
that day?
the most powerful way to reduce the variables is to control the most powerful variable you have, and that's you. Because what you do know is that everything that you think of has the potential to be created. And because it has the potential to be created, I said potential. Because it has the potential to be created, right? It means that you have complete control over how much energy you're going to put into that particular thought. Because only thoughts are creating things, right? So that means that all thought has the potential, but most thought doesn't reach its full potential. Just think about it though, because if all thought reached its full potential of what it could be, man, this would, right?
Yeah.
There would be too many things happening. It actually could not exist.
Right.
You know, time could not hold all of the things happening. You know what I mean? People make decisions among many, many variables and options. You know what I mean?
Overload.
Right. So when we create, we make consistency of things, right? Even when we create music, right? There's a consistency of not sound, but there's a consistency of the format of sound. what we are going to do for this, like time, right? How we will fill the space, though, the way that we'll use the instruments we use in the space, right? Something, we define the variables, and that's how things are created. Because the entire form is just lends itself to what? Infinity itself, right? Creation itself is just the reality of infinity. It is us that give it a reality. By what? Giving it parameters each and every time. It's the beauty of mathematics, though, right? So technically, the mystery is, when people deal with a mystery, is because you're focusing on the potential, the potential reality, and you're saying like, that reality, it exists for us to do stuff with, so that must be God. You see what I'm saying? The
Right.
creation, the universe.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's not, though. We created it all. You see what I'm saying? Because the thought itself, right, is what actually creates its own infinity. In other words, that infinity doesn't exist unless the thought expands it to be what it is.
See, I think the thing that make it sound quote unquote far out when you say some shit like that, because even if I was to express that to someone else, I'm visualizing like a brain floating in space, like a mind.
Because
oh,
you know
this
what's
is the
crazy,
first
right?
Thought that created everything,
People ask
you know
for
what I
a
mean?
metaphysical insight,
Right.
but they don't really have the way to perceive that thought, that explanation. You know what I mean? And if we get simpler with it, right? When I say we are creators in our own creation, right? Is that to make us, we had to make creation also.
Indeed.
So it is a simultaneous act of we exist and so we are.
Right.
That second part, we exist, so we are. We are meaning that because we exist,
Is existence.
creation exists for us to exist in.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Because creator creates creation, all creation. So once we exist, right, then the reality in which we exist in also exists. You see? But we're not taught that. We're taught that existence is created, right? Most will add a God created existence, right? And then now people with their new age shit, they go, the universe, it's the universe. But then they put us into it. No. It's the mind itself that expands itself to become. You know what I mean? Because all this is just a thought. All this is just a mind. You know what I mean? And of course, though, we're always going to see it that way because we made ourselves into this form here. So we're always going to see that. When I say that, as like some giant brain in fucking space. You know what I mean? No, seriously, like we made ourselves into this anthropomorphic reality, like this solid liquids and gases. So, and basically made ourselves this whole reality of the mind. We created ourselves into these many aspects. Remember I said that so many things can exist? One of the ways that we could get all of the realities that exist is by what? The separation of ourselves into, right? And the separation of us to dimensions, which would be the individual, right? Individuals, right? Then time, space, right? You know what I mean? Shit's crazy. It's crazy. You know? But
different perspectives and different forms.
yeah, absolutely. You know, and that's always going to be hard for a person. When I say simple to people, the simple put is this: the simple logic is know everything that you can create, right, for yourself is going to come from you, and everything else is a waste of time. Everything else, so that you deal with religiously, looking to the universe and everything else, is just pep talks. That you can do it and you will not fail because what? I was going to say people, but then it's replaced with the mystery God because he wants me to do it. He knows I can do it. It's all fucking pep talks. Religion is just a pep talk.
Right.
You know, it's a fancy pep talk for most people in their daily lives. You know what I mean? I know I'm right because God has my back. And it makes no sense because children and people that are so much greater than all of us are dying every day. You know what I mean? Millions of thousands and thousands of children die every day that got no business even dying. Starvation, all these other things. It's disrespectful to me to even think about a mystery God. And let alone, especially a mystery God that would help me. Like, as soon as you blessed by God. That is bullshit. That is the biggest bullshit I ever heard. You know what I mean? And it's also low standards. Because, right, we live here in America, we have things, right? You know, like we strive, we go through oppression, right? We go through things, but, you know, we get ourselves nice pieces of shit. You know what I mean? We can do things for ourselves, right? And so we think that we've been blessed by God, but no. It's just that each aspect of this oppression has different levels of crumbs. You know what I mean? We get the fat crumbs. We get the fat crumbs. You know what I mean? What people don't take in note is that, let's say, if we just go particularly with the African American, what people don't get though, let's say other people look at the African American, they go, he gets the fattest crumbs. Yeah, but he gets the most valuable things taken from him every day. You know what I'm saying? All over the world, people are dying though, being abused physically. Slavery conditions still exist, you know? A lot of shit that we wear is built from slavery, right? But only in America, right? Does every nigga still think he's a nigga? And yet they're mining, you know, mining and going in there and extrapolating genius from the black mind daily to make multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar industries of arts, entertainment, culture, because that's really what gets exported. One of the things that gets exported the most in the world.
They're saving everybody physically,
Yeah.
but they really.
There is no other system of slavery that is really getting a benefit out of the mental genius of the black man than in America, and yet the average black man is living like a straight nigger, like even with the fucking ER, like that, just horrible. You know what I'm saying? And just mining, and every other original people that come here for a set amount of time, the Puerto Rican things like that, whatever we make gets manipulated and abused just like that, gets through the conveyor belt. You know what I'm saying? Oh, y'all niggas make salsa, boom, yeah, put the cha-cha-cha, da-da-da,
Right.
everything. You know what I'm saying? Gets funneled and destroyed immediately. Man, that can't be discounted. These are mental, the intellectual capital is the most abused slavery that goes on in this country. You know what I mean? Because we look at all the things that are created and all things exported, though. It's the standard, though. You know what I'm saying? None of us here go, yeah, you know, my brother's out there and name said African country. That's the way you gotta do it. I'm sure that we could see things that they do that we would go, yo, that shit is fly right there. Guaranteed.
Right.
But we don't know nothing about that shit. But they know what the fuck we do, and they go, yo, I gotta get some shit like that, some color block camel joint like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I need to wear it that way too, because I'm wearing it fucked up out here. You know what I mean? And then if it gets too close, then they just soak up the Caribbean. Oh yeah, whatever you do, you know, soak it up. You know what I mean? Look, who's the biggest? You go anywhere out there, right? White people don't know shit about no Caribbean, but they know every Rihanna song. You know what I mean? And the truth is that most of her music, she's diluting a lot of like island rhythms. You know what I mean? From reggae and other kind of shit. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying because she makes music I like and stuff. I'm just saying like it's pop. You know what I mean? It's pop. You know? But they mine that. It's designed to just mine them everything. And we don't even know all the things. And the more we always have to find out in some documentary, some kind of movie. You know what I mean? Like what was the movie with the sisters with the astronauts and everything, right? The Hidden Figures, right? We always have to find out later in some documentary how they're actually mining for like genius that is non-cultural. But if we would just take the culture, people don't really get. Again, this is the work I do, right? So you see how much money gets used, like, and it has blown up and made multi-million-dollar corporations into multi-billion-dollar corporations. I mean, the things that we created with hip hop and the way that people did hip hop, the style, blackness, everything. That's exactly why sneakers have become everything.
Right.
They become everything. And what was it? It's because it was Jordan. He was playing mad black. Like the style was in the game.
Right.
And he was rocking shit that niggas, would never fuck with. Who would fuck with the first year Jordans looked crazy back then?
Right.
A colored block sneaker. They didn't have no shit like that. So black dudes wear some crazy shit like that, you know what I mean?
Right.
And he rocked it. Just think about the blood sucking that goes on. And now look at it, you got every single black man that has a little tiniest modicum of cool that they give this motherfucker a sneaker. You know what I mean? Getting sneakers from niggas who don't even play.
Yeah.
Now you see commercials for fucking bench players and shit, endorse shit. They're making so much money off of us culturally that we don't even know how they're blood sucking us mentally and stuff because they keep that shit in it. As far as like science and other areas, it's ridiculous. It's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. You know what I mean? It's mind blowing to me. But all the while though, even though the average brother would be like, yo, we run shit all over the world, everybody does what we do, right? They're still living a savage, beastly way of life, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And they don't even know what that really means though. They just think it's like natural. It's not natural. You know what I'm saying? Like, in other words, natural, like it just exudes and then it assumes that they were able to funnel it. But no, we're packaging this product. We're the ones that are making it into a product. We're the ones that are making it into a concrete reality. They didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Shit. Before, they started a little bit, Converse and shit, but like until Jordan though, and people started designing shit though, sneakers were pretty much ugly. You know what I mean? Like,
They were just real simple.
Yeah, they're mad basic.
Yeah.
Mad basic. You know what I mean? If you get an old pre-Jordan sneaker, it's only because it's vintage, and it's basic. You rock it well, and you could rock it with something else. But Nike Cortez, like basic sneakers. You know what I mean? Functional. We've invented colorways. They couldn't even invent that. You know what I mean? Because it was us in the hood saying, yo, I like the Mets and shit. But remember, because we had to get a Reds hat, Cincinnati Reds or whatever. Yo, but I don't fuck with that team though. I want to make the Mets cap in all the colors though. Yankee cap, all the right? That was us demanding basic shit. If you do that in the office though, they say you're a marketing genius. But we're just hood niggas though, that we always gotta be doing shit, right?
Right.
But it makes things like New Era become like multi-million-dollar companies because you're not just buying like one boring hat from one team.
Yo, they whole shit right now.
You know what I'm saying?
It's because of us right now. Like
Shit.
They're doing and the different ways they're doing the fittest now and the color under the brim and all that.
We made all of that shit up. The original baseball brims were green underneath.
Right.
Because they found that was the color for the glare, but that shit looked bad with other hats. With certain colors, it didn't look good.
Right.
But you're like, oh, this is a professional baseball cap, and you wear it even though none of your shit matches, right? You ever watch the 70s movies? White people have no idea how to match shit.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's funny because it was only preppy white boys in the evil 80s movies where the 80s movies where the evil preppy white boy was matching. Did you ever notice that?
Yeah.
It was because he was wearing polo.
Right.
Because it was Ralph who was being able to match shit and have it. But he grew up in the Bronx. Don't tell me he didn't see shit.
Facts.
Tell me that he grew up in the Bronx and he didn't see people and how they match their colors and shit like that. Because we've been doing that fucking forever. You know what I mean? All our grandparents, they all got matching outfits, all that kind of shit. They weren't doing that. You know, can't wear a pair of shoes though. That shit doesn't go with that. You know what I mean? You gotta get the right shoes. You know what I mean?
Right.
So all of that kind of shit, like, it's just simple shit. You know what I mean? But that's the inventive process. Is usually the simple shit. Now, shall I say the facts? Tennis shoes were boring early 80s. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Indeed. But I'm just trying to show you, like, what people think are basic things end up being multi-million-dollar ideas for people. You know what I mean? Just multi-million-dollar ideas, you know? And then they start right when Nike and they all finally figured out, they're like, yo, we can't keep up. So not only are we going to make other colorways and shit like that, we're going to let them design their own. And we'll just charge them like almost a quarter of a price extra to join, right? Yeah. Yeah, you can make your own polo shirt now, Nike sneaker, like you make your own Air Force One. When they had the Air Force One, you can put camo, whatever you want on it. They still got that. Make your own Air Max, right? All that kind of shit. They didn't get those ideas from white folk. That wasn't their culture. They didn't even clean their sneakers. I'm sorry, but you watch movies, right? They didn't even clean their sneaker. They bought one sneaker, like, for, you know? Even when we was growing up, you had to like one sneaker and you couldn't afford more. He was always trying to keep that shit as white as possible.
Right.
He was trying to clean it all the time, and scuffs was pissing you off, all that kind of shit. You know? Especially if you got a good one. If you got it, you know?
They used to have the little M&Ms in the tube. When we was done with the tube, we used to put soap and water in the tube and like a little toothbrush or some shit. It just be like, the school was like, oh,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, this is crazy, you know?
Now
But
they got products
the fashion and shit though, like everything, you know what I mean? And it's only the more deeper we dig, just as a capitalistic sensibility, it doesn't make sense that they would only abuse our intellect and rob our intellectual capital for just culture. And that's what our people assume, that we're just being used for that, and you know, that's what we would do in this dumb stuff. Nah, they are extracting people all the time, you know? They find more comfort in extracting original people from other lands, you know what I mean? In all over Asia, that's where they get all the scientists from, because they, you know, and the reason they do that is not because they don't want to extract it from original people here.
No, they could get away.
It's
with
because they're not
shit
putting
over there.
they're not putting people in any kind of schooling to actually draw out that potential. So that's what happens, though. You know what I mean? When it comes to arts and culture, we're doing that from day one. So all of us are very well versed in arts, culture, sports. Like all of us know. Like by the time we were teens, whether we wanted to admit to it or not, we knew if we were going to be NBA bound or not.
Right.
We were just lying to ourselves. You know what I mean? But we knew, like,
I still have hoop dreams.
Yeah, but right? I'm this short. I had hoop dreams. Like this shit was really everybody. You know what I mean? And it was damn Muggsy Bogues, my man Muggsy Bogues, who should be in the Hall of Fame. Y'all don't know what it's like to be that short and be this height and play like that. I think I was getting 8 assists per game, though. I don't know how the hell he was doing it, though. You know what I mean? But the thing is, right? All that kind of shit like that, we tested all those other things, but we never were put in the positions to test like, oh, is he good at engineering? Is he good at building things? Like all that kind of stuff. You don't really know. You might get some low engineering skills because we become mechanics and lower level jobs like that, but you don't really get anything to know if we know any of the sciences or anything like that to really test it. So we have no way in the schools to see if children are that good.
Right, and
You know?
that was intentional.
Yeah.
And you put a lot of focus on
Right?
us just being a
Well, we were kids, right? We go, we watch
Right.
animal documentaries. Oh, I would love to be a veterinarian, or I love to work with animals and research animals in the wild and shit, right? All of us, right? Well, what schooling do we have that could lead us to that path, though, to try it or to learn more about it? We don't have that. So you don't really think about how you could get in there.
Just watched it on TV.
Yeah, you know. And that's why one of the things too is that we teaching our young, if they have those things, man, we got Google, we got all this research, so we have to research and how to find a way. If they say, hey, I like that, well, let's see, what would you have to do that? You know what I mean? That way you keep it in your head that you could do that. We don't do that. You know what I mean? We're not doing that, so it's a problem. You know what I mean? That's why you always got to be mining. They're mining us, probing our minds all the time. You have to do that with your children all the time. Be seeing what their gifts are, whatever they let go, what they're interested in, what they become interested in. You know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. You know, because in school they're doing analysis. They do more. They're doing more evaluating than teaching in school. You know what I'm saying? They're evaluating though. They're trying to produce, authority submissive members of society. So they focus more on evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? If you get a reading score and you hit the reading score you're supposed to, it doesn't seem like it's like for reading. It seems more like, well, they're continuing to be smart enough to continue on in this process.
Right.
It doesn't even seem like suitable for reading because they don't go, they read this good though. Maybe they spend this time doing this. No, they're fine. They're good. They're good to go. They're acceptable.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because even stuff like that shouldn't be judged. You know what I mean? To me, most of the reading level of children, though, is really the responsibility of the teacher, not really the student. It shouldn't be their grade, especially with the young. It's really the teacher's grade, you know? Because unless it's the student has some impediment, though, all those the reading levels they should be able to get to, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But of course, they don't see it like that either. You know, it's cool. Malik said toothpaste and brush them hard. Yeah. We got some time left. We got about 20 minutes left and stuff like that. So any questions that you have for everybody there, let me know. Take a short break. Spit out this gum too. Now see what you got. right, I am back. Nobody has any questions. This is quiet chat today. Like crazy quiet.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You don't gotta make it a pick and choose thing.
Yo, yeah.
You know what I mean? You get a class, they like, damn, you ain't gonna talk. I was one of the I like the bunch you know what I mean? Have on the channel and all that. Every tune in it. But the other thing I was gonna ask is about the third degree and the 1 to 14. And more so on the part where it's saying he didn't care about the poor part. When I see that, I view it as that was kind of the reason or the way how Columbus was able to discover the poor part because we didn't care for it. So it's like if we did care or paid attention to the poor part, we would have been able to prevent a half original man or half original thought coming into our mental plane or reality. You know what I mean?
This had to happen anyway, so we could say that it didn't matter anyway. So it's more like that he didn't care because it was gonna happen anyway.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Okay.
see how it,
Okay.
it's all perspective. A lot of that is perspective. You know what I mean? It's not, you know. But yeah, that's why. You know.
Okay. So is it something that explained in the later degrees in the sense of
As far as
it's
what?
gonna happen anyway?
That's something you get not just out of the lessons, but also by Elijah Muhammad's teachings when you read his books and things like that. But see, the whole perspective is that this devil civilization had to happen. You know what I mean? It had to. All of this was aspects of separation that was already within the original man. You know what I mean? And we could also go back into history and find that we may have been warring against each other anyway.
Right.
You know, for different things in different ways and different means, you know, and this was a way to concentrate all that and bring it to a head, you know. So it's late, so I don't want to get into the whole thing.
Right.
But when you think of things like that, it doesn't make it what Yaqub did good, because good or bad is not a good way to describe any of this. That's perspective, but necessary might be. Because he funneled this into 6,000 years, which is less than a quarter of a solar year. You know what I mean? Or the Quran, which is 25,000 years. Solar year is 26,000. So pretty much. So gotta look at Yaqub differently. That's why I was making jokes about Yaqub. You know, Yaqub. Get my Yaqub throwback jersey. You know, a 666 jersey throwback. You know what I mean? Because he's doing it. You know what I mean?
I'm surprised nobody did that shit already.
Yaqub, my nigga Yaqub, big head scientist boy. One love, kid. You know, because he made this hell into 6,000 years. Like, imagine like bringing the problem to a head by manifesting what was wrong inside and bringing and making a physical reality of what it was that was wrong.
Right.
That sounds weird. Now, let me make it unweird. Whatever you think, every single flaw that you have, when you have a child, though, you decided not to work on that shit.
It's gonna manifest
They
in the
have to
child.
work. Yeah. You know?
Mhm.
So he magnified that for people. And I don't mean like, oh man, he's such an asshole to be a father at all. But something is going to go in. Some issue that you have is going to be their problem for them to solve. That's why the babies are the greatest. They will be equipped to solve it if they're nurtured. But know that now a lot of the things that you dealt with, they're going to deal with too, together. That's just the reality. Just like in the macro sense, when we had our children, we knew that we were having our children though in this hell. Like they weren't going to be born as like they're so cute. They'll just be in utopia, you know, like they'll be untouchable. Now we knew, like, yo, we're having children in hell. Like they're gonna go through this, and they'll have to go through the same things we have, and the things that we haven't mastered, which is plenty of things all the time. They'll have to do that, and because of the DNA and because of the epigenetics of the DNA, they might have the same difficulties we have. Just like they meet, which could be enhanced, they might have the abilities we have will also be enhanced too. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's half, the glass is half full or half empty depending on how you look at it. Obviously, we deal with the babies of the greatest, so we're looking at it the correct way to me. The glass is half full, you know, because they don't have they're not only augmented by whatever greatness we had, but they have us to help them avoid those pitfalls, you know what I mean, and funnel them and direct them. But yeah, you know, I see it more as a fact, saying he didn't care about the poor part. I see it more as a fact. A lot of people try to read that as like the way to be.
Right.
I don't try to take that perspective. Like the things that are decided, I don't say like that's the way God is. Like I'm not looking at 120 to devise my own behavior as God. And be consistent with the behavior that was done then. No. I'm God now, though. Y'all did all that. What's right and exact now to do? Mm-hmm. A lot of people look at 120 and they derive their behavior from the way that things are done in 120. You see, and that would be a classic example of that, though. You didn't care about, so the woman, I don't care about the poor part, you know, like, right. But you stop, like, there was a reason, you know, it wasn't relevant at that time, you know what I mean? That doesn't apply to all situations, you know what I mean? Different contexts, you know what I mean? Because someone was going to do something. The white man was taught by Musa to engage. So he was taught how to properly engage. So it was eventually that after they got some kind of stability, because that's really what happens. They get some kind of stability, and now they look like to what? To actually start to take over lands that are not theirs. You know what I mean? Pretty much they're just fighting over everything else. So like then they go. So what happens? They're going into Africa, taking over. And because of that, though, by devising slavery, it's not only allowing them to take over Africa, it's allowing them to take over other lands. Because now they realize that they have not just labor to extract all the resources in Africa, but man, they can bring some of them over there. And that becomes an extension of what slavery was already. Right. Because it's really not, that really wasn't done. You know what I'm saying? You know? All right. There's some other things in this email. I'm going to read it, though, and get to it, though.
Yeah.
Why the actual and approximate in 24,896 and 25,000? I'll say this, right? The approximate, and Dumar had a long build about this. Long. He made a whole plus lesson about this stuff. But really, listen, when we deal with science, though, a lot of science is based on rounding off, you know, and being able to make generalizations so you can make assumptions, you know what I mean? And predictions and chart things with ease. But you also need to be right and exact. So the exact number would be necessary too, you know? I mean, that's pretty much the answer, you know what I mean? Because in all sciences, that's the most scientific thing to do, you know what I mean? To know the approximations allows you to group things together and make a logical sense out of things and see patterns. You can't always see that, though, when the numbers are too exact. Right. You know what I mean? Like, for example, when it says a year to every mile, right? We write our history in advance, a year to every mile. You don't really see that unless you round it off to 25,000. But now you see that it's pretty much nearly the same the square miles in the planet Earth, and each mile is synonymous to a solar year, the Quran. You don't see that vividly if you don't round it off, you know? So that's what I mean by that. When you round off things, you're able to group things and see patterns and situations. You know what I mean? Because in the whole scheme of things, the rounding off is very minuscule, you know? So there's points to be made there, you know? I hope that answers the question, you know? Yeah. All right, we're almost done here, so I'm going to close shop here. You guys are quiet, though. I'm going to close shop. I know I got my ride to the island, so I got to get to it. But if anything, email me here. Email me at sunez97@gmail.com for all the older gods. If they're honest, which I doubt it, though. I am closing up the school safely and securely, as always. So everything will be fine, you know. But yeah, until then, no, build and for those who are teaching out there and stuff, and I'm harsh to or anything like that, or you're going out to teach stuff, get your story right. Get your story right. You know what I mean? And the way you get your story right is to be sincere about the reasonings behind the story, you know, and the lives of the people that you tell, you know. That's important, though. You know what I mean? What type of dumb shit people gonna say when I return? Some dumb shit. They'd be like, "Yo, he was a big Drake fan. Big Drake fan." Yeah. He loved. Yo, let me tell you, Sunez hated all that on camera, but he loved all this shit. He played the shit. Yeah. All right, nigga. But yeah. Shit. All right, everybody. I'm gonna let you all go. All right. Peace. Make sure y'all build, create, experiment, innovate as you preserve it all. This knowledge of self. Peace.